G'day, guys. Welcome back to the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. It is season 5, episode 2. One of us are not happy. The other two aren't traveling too bad, I don't think, at the moment. Janath's shaking his head there. Spillsy's got a bit of swagger. We'll go.
I'm doing fine tonight, boys. I'm ready to go.
He's up and about, Spillsy, whereas I'm in a position, as I said in my round review, where I sort of want to bury my head in the sand, but it is the game that we play, and it is a marathon, not a sprint. But, boys, very, very excited to be back. It's the second poddy of the season. So, Spillsy, you're right underneath me, mate. How are you going? How was your first round? We'll get into your round review soon, but why are you so up and about here, mate?
Oh, it was a good week. Like, it's good to actually get there's one obvious one that I didn't get right, and that was Smith. We'll touch on that later. But other than that, it looks pretty good. And I think it's been about 3 or 4 years in a row where I've absolutely botched my first team, and I've played catch up. But it's good to sort of, I wouldn't say I've come out of the blocks, like nowhere near it, but it's just a good start for me. Really hoping that like we can, progress and improve the team. But yeah, it's good to have good energy, and really missed it, boys. I did watch over your last podcast, and I just wanted to be there so bad. Obviously, I moved house. It's been such a busy couple of months for me, and I actually tried to do my own reaction of the community series, and yeah, we know what happened, boys. The file didn't save. I lost it all. It was about an hour and 20 minutes of my time just going down the drain. So yeah, I was absolutely livid with that one. But yeah, just to add to the excitement, the anticipation levels of returning tonight are just, they're really high. So yeah, just can't wait to rip back into it, boys. And yeah, it's good to be Supercoach for 2025.
Beautiful, mate. Janath, my brother, very, very busy man lately. How you been, my man?
Oh, I mean, if you asked me after Thursday, I wouldn't have replied to you. But look, it took the whole weekend and the Monday to get over Carlton losing to Richmond on Thursday.
I wasn't going to bring it up. You brought it up, mate. I haven't even mentioned it, right?
I didn't want the drive-bys to come, so it's preemptively gone ahead of the drive-bys. Look, I mean, it led way into Supercoach, sort of took the mind off the footy like Carlton on the weekend. But yeah, I think we remember back. It was a couple of years ago. I was ranked 70k. You ranked 90k after the first round, but we both stormed home. I think we both finished top 1k or top 1.5k, something like that. But it just goes to show it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Oh, it's so disappointing, isn't it, when you have a bad start, because you put so much time and effort into it. Think about all the conversations we've had. But look, it is only one round, and we will discuss this as we get into the potty. But yeah, great to be back with you, boys. And Rossco can't be with us at the moment. Again, at uni, a very, very busy man. But remember, we do have the captain's video coming up in 2025. So we're going to get all the good goss and get the best options from both Janath and Ross, who are the official third man up. So very excited about that, boys. But thank you very much to anyone that has purchased a Swordplay season guide or a beanie. We've got some very, very exciting news coming up in regards to the merch. Some lovely rugby polos that should be here, hopefully in the next week or two. So absolutely mint. Make sure you check out the website for that. And again, anyone that does purchase a beanie, we've got a new fresh batch now. $5 from every beanie does go to the Rural Children's Good Friday appeal. So thank you very much to everyone that has supported us there. And a big shout out to our sponsors at Speedy Tees, responsible for actually producing a lot of our merch. So make sure that you do go to speedytees.com.au for all your great custom merch. Thank you very much to Taylor and the team for that. And I tell you what, this is very, very exciting. Now, we've been talking a lot about this off air. In my opinion, the absolute future of the way that we're going to play our fantasy football. And it's the game day squad. So we have teamed up with the boys this year. And I tell you what, this is one of the most fun and exciting ways to play your fantasy. So you can see the leaderboard here. Now, Roscoe's sitting around the 150 mark. Now, I'm not too bad there. You know, low 200 to Pepsi Max King. This is my team just to the right. Now, Janath, talk to us about your experience with this, because you were a big Tops player back in the day and a bit of a card collector like Rossco and I in particular. Tell us about your experience with the Game Day squad, mate, because I know that when you first found out about this venture, you were absolutely over the moon.
I was like a kid in a candy store player going into Game Day squad. So our new, along with BDTs, our official partner moving forward, Game Day squad, AFL, it's like Supercoach, but it's not like Supercoach in the fact that if you've ever played sort of Madden, or if you played FIFA, NBA 2K, and you've got the card collector, you've got the card collection, and on top of that, there's certain points which are attributed for each of the acts that you see in the normal game. Your goals, your disposals, marks, handballs, all of that. If you actually go over to DFS Australia and you look at live scoring and it's got GD, that stands for Game Day. So the exact scoring metrics that we would normally have for Supercoach or Dream Team, but Game Day. And so, as we can see here, DR has acquired all of the players in his team right here through packs or through buying them on an auction market. That auction market, you can generate money through, firstly, opening packs and then selling on your players, or from trading different players or other players in that way. So growing up as a 14, 15-year-old, I used to play so much of the Tops game for soccer, and that includes just opening packs, selling those players, putting players into squad builders, and that's exactly what Game Day Squad is for. So, as the official partner of the Swordplay podcast, we can offer you guys a special introductory sort of bundle. And if you use the code PEANUT, yes, PEANUT for Peanut Ladums, PEANUT, you will get yourself $20 worth of packs free of charge on behalf of Game Day Squad and the partnership that they have with us. So I'll just repeat that. PEANUT, PEANUT. Go to the App Store, download Game Day Squad, and that should set you up to get a squad like what DR has and join some of the competitions and squad builder showdowns which they have.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And Rossco did actually put out a separate video that goes for about 15 minutes. I think that was around a week ago now. So go back, check that out if you want more info about how to play the game. But being a big card collector myself, this is so cool because I'm constantly finding them all over the shop, on the floor. River gets into them, starts eating them. These are all virtual. These are all online. And you can even get up to the legendary cards, which are literally one of one. So super, super exciting, particularly if you're a card collector, and absolutely free to play. The best prizes you can get, over $100,000 worth of prizes. And the best thing is, if you have a bad week, that's okay, because there are plenty of weekly prizes where you can rearrange your squad. So very, very exciting moving forward. And I'll tell you what, boys, I might even put out a video this week and open up some packs. I think this would be cool to maybe update this squad, because Nick Haynes, no good. Sorry, Janath, one of your boys just didn't rock up for me. So
go for it.
Bit of a drive-by for old man Nick, but I'm after some young guns
very old.
in some of my new packs. So yeah, thank you very much to the boys for partnering up with us. Really excited about that, and make sure
you may
that you
also
check
need
it out.
to replace old Chalky over there. 46 average. What's he doing?
Oh, come on, I'll accept that.
We'll get stuck in him later. Don't you worry about that, Janath.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get stuck into him now because it's time for our round reviews. And you can see that there are now 4 here, with obviously Rossco joining the crew this year, which we're stoked about. But I've obviously put out my round review. It went for about 50 minutes. It was more of a nightmare type scenario here. 2,030 points, and the ranking is 73,096. Well, it seemed like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, apart from Dane Zorko. Thank you very much to the 37-year-old that I picked in my side. He's actually saved my week, believe it or not. The rookies, how many 40s, 50s into the 30s, into the 18s can I cop here? Come on. It was just so painful. It wasn't funny. My boy Lockie, I knew he was going to cop a tag. But come on, maybe a 75 at worst, I was thinking. He gave me a 41. So I could go into it, but I think most people have probably watched that by now. The positive thing is that most people are now feeling a lot more positive about their own sides after watching that review. So a bit of a nightmare for me, boys, but got some big moves planned this week to try to get back with the pack. So not great, but there's time. There's lots of time. I might quickly go to Rossco here because he's not here. 2,064. So got 34 points on me. Maybe during the captaincy video, he can touch on a few players that he owns and he might be interested in that. But he's ranked 58,491. So Rossco wouldn't be too wrapped at the moment, but I'm sure he's got some big moves planned as well. Spillsy, we're going to move to you, mate. 2,150. Tell us about your week, brother.
This one, a couple of the boys at footy were actually getting stuck into me because I think I lost one of my leagues. And they're like, oh, because they all know I've got a podcast. They know I don't go train on Tuesday because of it. And they're like, Spillsy, I thought you were good at Supercoach. But as you can see here, it's not looking too bad, is it? So, but I do owe it to Janath. I've got to give you a massive thank you here, mate. You saved my ass. So about bit of funny story on Saturday, about 5 minutes, not even before the Freo Geelong game sort of locked out. I'm running with Ashcroft and Garcia because I've dropped Nevitt.
Off the Will variety.
Pardon?
Off the Will variety.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Will Ashcroft. Yeah, thinking that Nevitt's got to not buy. Sorry. He's gonna be subbed, and I'm just thinking I can't have this many rookies. And I'm on the phone with Janath, and he's like, mate, he's not sub anymore. He's playing. And I'm like, oh, what? No way. So I bring Nevitt back in, and I bring Rankin back in with, about 4 minutes to go until the game started, which you put that together, Rankin 128, Nevitt's gone 80 plus, and then I'm not sure Garcia scored DR, but I don't think it was...
rubbing it into the wound. Rubbing it in.
He knows exactly what he scored. He knows exactly what he scored. He's trying to rub bloody salt into the wound.
Well, you got to start hot, boys. You got to start off with a bang, all right? So, Garcia, I was high on him all preseason, and it was just a luck thing. And Ashcroft, look, I thought the CBAs were going to be a lot higher. I think he was fourth in the pecking order for CBAs, which actually pretty surprising considering like the finals form. What's that, Janath?
He didn't look interested. We'll talk about him more.
I don't know.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I thought with Neil getting tagged, he'd sort of step up a little bit and come off his finals form. Spectacular. Very disappointing. I think that's a luck-based pick, but got super, super lucky there, boys. So that's probably, Garcia and Ashcroft combined, that's probably about, 130, 140 points, comparing that with Rankin and Nevitt. And there's no way that I would have averted to that if Janath hadn't told me. So, yeah, you got me out of the blocks, mate. I do appreciate it. So, hopefully we can keep charging. And another thing, no Bailey Smith. What are we doing? Why are we anti-podding him? I knew he'd play okay, but not that good. So he's got to come in this week. Perryman, absolutely disappointing. Neil's obviously tagged. There was a couple of pods that got it done for me. So, Rankin's only 28%, which sounds pretty high. But in the forward line in particular, it's a little bit of a point of difference. And then you got Zorko and Clark who are pretty solid too. So, yeah, not a bad start, boys. So I was expecting the rank to be a little bit worse. But, yeah, some really copped it, it's fair to say.
Well, mate, lucky you called Janath and not me. That's all I've got to say. Because you'd be putting him in the pot, maybe if you had to give me that phone call instead of Janath. Janath, I'm in.
Do you know what? This is a vital message that when you have a phone a friend available, you know who to call.
Go the professor, not the teacher. That's what you do.
I do try ringing you throughout the week, but straight to voicemail. So
Jeez, you got lucky, Spills. You got real lucky, mate. I would have blown up your side with my advice, mate. But,
also brought in Levi as well. I forgot to mention, boys, I did bring in Levi for Pal Pepper because I found out he wasn't subbed. So I was a bit of a defensive move, got lucky. So
yeah, and here I am. I didn't even know about this, right? I didn't have phone reception. I had nothing, right? I start with Finn O'Sullivan, who I've never had this bloke in my side, never. And I've moved to actually get up to him. I had like 5K in the bank from Ashcroft. I'm like, can't even get to Finn O'Sullivan. I've got to move this bloke now. Do that. And it's like,
do you remember who they were, DR? Who'd you actually move out to get him? Was it costly?
Oh, I cut, mate. I had Rosie at one stage. I didn't go with Ed Richards because he did his calf, my weapon. He's out. But I went Chocky for 640 and got 41 points. So, Yeah, it's
really
Janath,
that
let's
upset me a
get
lot.
to your review, please, mate. 2100. Let's stop talking about my team, please. Let's get to yours, brother.
Oh, look, it was pretty shocking. I'm not going to say it was great, but look, if as you're saying, if I didn't give Spillsy some advice, he'd be bottom of the pod here and be top of the pod. But see, look, we'll see how the Good Samaritans.
That's true. That's actually true.
But no, what we can do actually is we can go to my team. It's on the next slide here. So if you just go one forward, this is their final team that I went through with. So it's actually very, very similar to the one that I put out in my team reveal. The only differences are Christian Petrarca. So I ended up going Petrarca over Neil, which wasn't to do with anything apart from funding some of the rookie moves which I wanted to make. So I went Archer Reed over Harry Boyd. I just like that flexibility at R3. So having that DPP there allows me, for instance, this week, one of the trades which I'm considering is going Sam Powell-Pepper to Xavier Lindsay. And without any DPP in the midfield, the only way I can do that really is go Powell-Pepper out, Reed into the forward line, Flynn into R3, and then Lindsay in the flex. And so that's not possible if Harry Boyd is there. So that's one of the major structural changes that I made. But that 20K had to come from somewhere. And that was done through Neil down to Petrarca. At the same time, I also, when I saw that some of the defender rookies weren't popping off, one of the things that I did a little bit proactive there was bringing in a Ben Patton with the forward def DPP. And so what that allows is, for instance, going from a Perriman to a Bailey Smith, I don't need to bring in a defender like a Riley Bice. I can instead move Patton up, Smith into the forward line, Perriman for Smith straight up.
That's what I need, mate.
So it's just two moves there that I just wanted to show you guys visually what it looks like. Yes, Patton got subbed out, and we can go and talk about subs all week long because bloody hell, it is so hard to pick a rookie that is either not a sub risk or is not at risk of getting subbed. Even an Angus Hasty, like, he was looking so good. I tell you what, Ross, I've got no idea what you're doing, mate. 7th ranked Saint on the ground, and he's subbed. When this Brad Hill had one touch and a half at that point, and he still didn't get subbed out. So
just graceful, yeah.
The team overall, I don't think it's a bad team, but the big omission there is Bailey Smith, and that's something which I'll look to rectify this week or the next week as well.
Oh, well, mate, if it makes you feel any better, I don't have Rankin, I don't have Smith, but I've got Hugo Garcia. So, I can't wait to move on from him. All right, top of the pod, Spillsy, you are right up there, mate. 2150
is this the first
number
time
one.
ever?
That's good. Yeah, I think so, Janath.
I think I
was old mate DR on the floor there for most part of last year. So yeah, it's good to
he gets to the top, and I'm this little pleb all of a sudden, like he's just looking down on me.
Just looking off the visual, mate. I know what it's like. I'm trying to be nice, mate. I know what it feels like. Do
you know what? I'm surprised Spillsy hasn't popped open the champagne and poured it all over you.
Yeah, I know. I went the heaney egg, got the little heaney egg, and given that little rub or something for good luck.
Easy, boys. As you said, DR, it is a marathon, not a sprint. So look, we're not going to get too far ahead, but look, I will say it's pretty good to be up there and just start strong. I'm happy to start strong and just see how we go. So
let's hope some four numbered ranks amongst those numbers moving forward. I feel like we are notoriously slow starters here at Supercoach Swordplay, but we come home strong. I think that's the big difference there.
That's it, boys. Come home strong. I'll get back on my feet hopefully soon, and
you will, mate. No
hopefully
doubt.
On that podium. All right, now. Geez, this is great. I'm being so positive during this podcast. I know, like the first real big one for the season. And I'm going off about my team. Now I'm ranting. Now, I'm going to keep this one pretty quick. This is my man, my man. Spills your man, Elijah Sardis. Now, the time on ground is biting him in the backside here. Chris Scott, no tog for you. 57% time on ground. And I should have had bloody Ross Lyon here too with Hugo Garcia with the clock biting his backside because he had 61%. Now, boys, in all honesty, and it brings me back right to my last year playing footy. This is when I was way past my best in the Whittlesea reserves. And I won't name the coach, but dead set, this is a senior team, right? Reserves. He would give people one quarter. one quarter. There'd be the 40-year-old blokes that are sweating it up there, right? Give us a rest. We're like, come on, we're keen, get us on. No, just wait your time, boys. Wait your time. A quarter, right? It was terrible for Tog. Absolutely terrible for Tog. But why are we playing this guy, Spills, at 57% time on ground? And mind you, he didn't start as a sub or come off as a sub. This is in a full game, 57%. Is it his tank? Is it the fact they don't trust him? Is it just like, all right, there's two of you blokes here going to go 50-50 split? It's the same as Hugo Garcia. He ended up as a small forward by the end of the game, and that's the only reason why that Tog went up, I think, because he moved up that way. So I am absolutely spewing on this, and I think it's a mistake that I made, and maybe I should have looked into, particularly with the Hugo Garcia pick, that Tog, it needs to be up. It needs to be a decent amount of time on ground for these players to actually have an impact. I just don't think that Sardis has the skills to be able to make an impact in under 60% Tog. So that is my rant, boys. Absolutely spewing. Stuff you, Brad Scott. Stuff you, Ross Lyon. Play the boys. This is absolutely ridiculous. So
I think Durham hurt him a little bit. Didn't see much of Durham in the preseason, and Sardis was obviously a man. Looked really good against the Dogs. And then, was solid. Pretty solid against Geelong as well. Like, he was good in both games, but yeah, Tog's gone way down since Durham's been the main man in the CBA. Do they want to persist with him? Maybe there was more on the line and they didn't think he was ready, but it just doesn't make sense because he's had such a great preseason and scored well in both practice matches. So I feel like he needs another chance to sort of prove himself. He's not a rookie that I want to get rid of this week. I really do want to give him another chance because I see the potential, but it also is frustrating because he looked nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. I mean, a lot of turnovers, just low time on ground. And wasn't his night.
Boys, the worst part, Darcy Parish is possibly back in a week.
Yeah.
He's gone,
That'll do it. That'll do it.
He's gone.
I think that's the nail in the coffin.
That's quicker than I thought, Janath. Didn't realise that was that.
For sure, mate. I'm just going to go very quickly through some other relevant injury news whilst we're on that topic. So Kai Lohmann at the Lions, 1 to 2 weeks, probably prolongs Levi. I think if there was any doubts over Levi as a pick, like, it probably just extends that. I think this was the week. DR, you could just give me a quick thumbs up, thumbs down if you thought the Levi as a sub was this week. But now that you've seen him play, you're like confident he won't be a sub risk.
How can you? Look, you've got the other injury to Starcevich as well. So I think probably McKenna can go back, maybe fill that void. And then Levi's so good anyway. You can play in midfield, you can play in wing, you're playing half forward. So I just think it's a sensible move. And Chris Fagan actually said in his presser that Levi helped them to win the game. So that's pretty high praise as well in your first game. So I'd be pretty shocked, but never rule it out. I can never rule it out, but I'd be pretty shocked.
Charlie Curnow in this week. So the ramifications for that will likely stem from Mackay probably doing a little bit more second racking. Pittenet's 3 to 4 weeks away, so we'll probably get a good block of TD K-Sol ruck, which, as we saw from this week, is all we really need. At the Bombers, as I was mentioning, Parish 1 week, Ridley 1 week. Setterfield is a test, so perhaps is it Setterfield that comes in for Sardis? The more and more I think about it, the pick is just not one I'm very sold on. Shea Bolton is a test. Hayden Young is 2 weeks away. So we saw Nathan O'Driscoll at 68% CBAs on the weekend. I think, again, that should continue. Versus St. Kilda, versus Sydney, could be one of those Dunkley-type picks that benefits from attention going to some of the big boys in Sarong and Brayshaw. Absolutely. Sean Darcy is 2 to 3 weeks away, so that affects Liam Reedy, even though he's not the best anyway. And nothing really at the Cats. At Gold Coast, they're on the bye, but Charlie Ballard has gone down with an ACL injury. So does this open up a bit of time for, I don't really know, Caleb Graham or someone? Not really sure. Sam Flanders is a test, though. At GWS, Brent Daniels had a hip injury. So does this sort of help out some of the GWS rookies? And they should have a host of players to come back in from suspension. And nothing really new at Hawthorn apart from Jack Scrimshaw, James Warple. They're still on the sidelines, but they're not really playing many rookies for us to think about too much anyway. Aiden Johnson got suspended. in the game on the weekend for Melbourne was looking really good, actually. And then also Stephen May was a laid out, but there's not really too many ramifications. But I feel like the Demons debutants should hold their spot for a good chunk of time. Unfortunately, Griffin Logan's done his hamstring again. I think that pick, whilst it was good as sort of an option, it's like one of those picks where you want to be too poddish and you end up going with, and that's what happens with some pods at the end of the day. George Wardlaw is still 3 to 4 weeks away. At Port Adelaide, Zach Butters is 3 to 5 weeks away. But Asava Radagalia is now fit to play. So how does this affect Jeremy Finlayson, for instance? Remains to be seen. At Richmond, the injury list is long, but Josh Smiley's 1 to 2 weeks away. I think that's the big one, and it would be great to see him get an early run at it. At St Kilda, Filippo is 6 to 7 weeks away. Alex Taru, 3 weeks. So nothing too much. But the big ones here, boys, is Mitch Owens is a test to play. And Max Kin is 2 to 3 weeks away. So how does this really affect the pendulum between the Harry Boyd, Rowan Marshall ruck split? We'll be interested to see how that one pans out. At Sydney, Callum Mills 2 to 3 weeks away. Logan McDonald 2 weeks away. But Lewis Melican has got injured 2-3 weeks with an adduct injury. Likely forces a Tom McCartan back into defence. Or possibly does this mean that Nick Blakey takes up even more of an accountable role, which could really open up Matty Roberts?
Please. Yeah, really that's what we want. Open up
Matty Roberts. Help save Ben Patton's job security. Come on, mate.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, I'm betting. Yeah.
Elliot Yeo, 4 to 6 weeks away at West Coast. Jake Waterman is a test, so that could affect sort of the ruck split as well as the forward split for Archer Reed, Matt Flynn, Bailey Williams. Does he come in? Sort of thing. And also Jack Hutchinson is possibly unavailable with awareness. So your boy there, Spillsy. And then at the Bulldogs, I think this one's quite relevant here. Treloar, 3 to 5 weeks. Bontempelli, 4 to 6 weeks. So a bit of time for those two still on the sidelines for those Sanders owners. But I think when we go into talking about it, the Sanders to Smith trade may be one that a lot of coaches may be eyeing up.
I think it makes sense, mate. All right. Now, we will get into the rookie data dump in a sec. But after that, we'll talk about some wins, fails, popular trades. We'll go through the premiums, mid prices, and the rookies. We're going to talk about a trading block strategy as well as a best 18 strategy. And we are back bigger and better than ever with the mailbag for 2025. And we'll end on that. And remember, we do have a separate captain's video this year as well. So let's get into the rookie data dump. Now, Janath, I tell you what, the work that you blokes do with these tables is absolutely phenomenal, second to none. There's a lot of data here. There is a lot going on from your defenders, mids, rucks, and your forwards. So, brother, take us through your wonderful work here. Who are we keen on? Who are we not keen on? And who are we maybe on the fence on going into round 2?
Yeah, so a lot of this also has to go to Rossco as well. We just put this one together for round 2. It's all available on Third Man Up. So I've just picked out the players that I think are the most Supercoach relevant. So we've got the 4 lines there: defenders, mids, rucks, and forwards. So for the people that are listening on Spotify, I'm just going to take you guys through it as well. So I think in terms of the defenders, there's 3 players that we have highlighted green in our verdicts, and that's Jackson Pryor, Zach Reed, Riley Bice. I think those 3 players, as well as a Luke Trainer in a way, are the players that we feel comfortable in fielding. But at the same time, if you're looking for a defender option because you need to facilitate the Harry Perriman to Bailey Smith trade, I think Riley Bice is really the only option that is one that you can consider bringing in this week, because we suspect that many coaches have a Pryor, have a Reed, have a Trainer.
Yeah.
But I think I wouldn't be going up to a Jackson Pryor over Riley Bice. I just didn't see enough from Pryor to suggest that he is a must-have rookie. So in terms of the defensive line, this really goes to show the bare bones. Loved Luke Trainer's game against Carlton on Thursday. I think he is the one that I feel confident most to field out of that lot. Even though we don't have him as a field hold, I think it's more so circumstantial given the fact that we sort of know what we can expect from a Zach Reed, a Jackson Pryor, that 50 to 60 score, whereas a Luke Trainer has the potential to just pump out a random 70 and 80, that sort of thing. In terms of the midfielders, I think there are there's two main buy options. And the reason why I say buy, possibly three, actually. One that's a bit under the radar. And the reason why I say under the radar is we really, probably before this week, his name probably came up in zero Supercoach podcasts. And that's Ned Long. I think Ned Long scoring 113, which is a ridiculous score for a 200K rookie against Port Adelaide. One that's just come across sort of out of nowhere, really. He may be the beneficiary of Jordan De Goey missing, but at the same time, is a potential that this role can hold even once he comes back, and is Long in that midfield at the detriment of Perriman long term. But the other two players, which we believe are third man up to be the best buys in terms of if you're looking for midfield rookies this week, Levi Ashcroft, Xavier Lindsay. I think both of those rookies are must-have. And if I was to name personally my sort of must-have rookies in the midfield line, I would say Levi Ashcroft is a must, Nathan O'Driscoll is a must, Mitch Nevitt is a must, Xavier Lindsay is a must. I think those are the four rookies. Now, it's so interesting looking back in hindsight because 2 or 3 months ago, Levi was probably a must. Nathan O'Driscoll wasn't on our radars. Xavier Lindsay was, if he got named. And Mitch Nevitt was hadn't really bolted himself in preseason. But I thought all four of them really passed the eye test on the weekend. You could add Ned Long into that mix if you believe his job security is there. And then one that I think will be better for the run is Finn O'Sullivan. I've got him. I don't think he's a trade, but I also don't think he's a buy at the moment. We can just wait and see how he goes against Melbourne this week. Boys, I'm just going to pause here. Defenders and midfielders, is there anything that you boys want to add?
I did want to throw something out there, a little bit of a challenge in a way. And this is something that I'm really trying to determine at the moment. And it's about the comment about Xavier Lindsay being a must-have. Now, again, I really need to watch the game carefully. And I know with Lindsay, he's such a talented player, early pick, great skills, all the rest. But then I look at someone on the weekend like Sam Davidson. Now, I assume that he was playing the wing role. I look at someone like Camporeale, for example. And I think back to myself, and Spills and I played a lot of wing. That was our main positions growing up playing footy. And there's some days where you just have to do the dirty work, the running up and down, almost like those suicides, without getting rewarded with the football. There are other days, and we saw that, I think, with Camporeale in the first, 3 to 4 minutes of that game on the weekend. The ball was just on his side near the wing, and he was getting lots of early touches. This is my only question/concern around the Lindsay pick.
Yeah.
Is even with the wing role, which we know is not ideal for Supercoach, is he a must-have purely because of the talent and the eye test off the talent? Because I'm just thinking to myself, could someone like Lindsay pull out what a Davidson did or what a Camporeale did? Are we going to get used to 75 pluses from Lindsay, or is there every chance this week that Davidson's score and Lindsay's score almost do a complete switch? That's my major question to you with the Lindsay selection, mate.
Can I elaborate on that too, DR?
Go on, mate.
So a lot of that, I think playing wing as well, on grounds that are a lot wider. So Lindsay popped on the where Davidson struggled a bit on Marvel. Now, I don't know the size difference between those two wings, but MCG is a great deck for the wings. And like Camporeale, he actually had a really good game on the wing too. Just butchered it. That's the only, that's nothing to do with the role. So they're playing at the G. I'm pretty confident that they're going to go 60, 70 plus. But any other ground that's a little bit smaller, like SCG, maybe Marvel, it's probably a bit more, I can relate to it because, some days you have plenty of it. Other days you unrewarded running and you get nothing.
I think what I would say, the reason why I see him as a must-have either this week or next is to do with the fact that the way the Melbourne uses their wingers. And so if we cast our eyes back, we always think about Melbourne having relevant wingers, whether that be Ed Langdon, Lockie Hunter, Caleb Windsor, like even Caleb Windsor last year. Like he was, I'm just going to get his price up, but last year he went up, he averaged 60, but his price went up from 180K to 340K, but you don't really think about it. Like it's not really a player that you sort of think, oh, he went up that amount, because sort of goes under the radar. I think Lindsay, one of the major reasons, and if Lindsay wasn't playing North Melbourne this week, I wouldn't call him a must-have this week. He's probably on a watch. But given the fact that they're playing North Melbourne, they're playing at Marvel, which, yes, is fine. But we saw just how low pressure the game against the Bulldogs were for North Melbourne on the weekend, and that's where those outside players can really pad their stats a little bit. And what was so impressive for me, seeing Lindsay on the weekend against a strong GWS side in wet conditions, so it wasn't uncontested, take the ball outside. He was going into and around stoppages, which is what you want to see from your winger that's playing. Sorry, I don't have the terminology down pat, but I think it's like the strong side or the weak side sort of thing, where they're playing in and around the ball rather than being 50 meters away playing the defensive wing. I feel like Lindsay was playing that attacking wing, and that's why he was able to get up to an 82, have 22 touches. And he wasn't, if you cast your mind back, boys, to why we got sucked into Jack Billings a little bit. Because he had, I think it was like 16 marks or something against the Bulldogs. 16 marks or something against the Bulldogs in a game that was so reminiscent of that. And the whole purpose was because he was just padding his stats playing that wing, because they just kept kicking it to him. That's not what we saw from Xavier Lindsay on the weekend. That's just a minor difference, which I sort of saw there. If he wasn't playing North Melbourne, I wouldn't call him a trade-in this week, a watch. But I feel like there's potential here in a best 18 round 4 spike rookie score.
I think the wet's good too for wingers, because the ball just spills out, and quite often you're in a lot of space.
You still have to be classy with. I feel like there's more pressure when it's wet. Like it's not an uncontested style.
I hated playing in the wet. I just wanted those nice dry conditions where you can just run. I don't get smashed and broken jaws and legs like I did all my career. Do you know what? That's such good info, Janath, because this is the difference between looking at a stat sheet and going, this is how many kicks, handballs he got, and then you deep diving into Melbourne's game style, history of wingers. This is what separates the elite coaches from the bums like me, to be quite honest. So love that, mate. And I think that you've almost sold it. You've almost sold it. I'd love to wait the extra week just to see.
Yes.
But lots of positive
It's a luxury.
signs.
It is a really big luxury. And I think the fact for coach, and we'll talk about it when we're talking about trading in blocks, is if you already have 3 players that you're eyeing off for next week, plus Lindsay. So let's say it's a Ashcroft, Smith, Lindsay, and I don't know, Finn Callahan. You can't make all of those trades. You can't execute all those trades next week. So one of them is going to have to be brought forward a week. And which one is it going to be? It's not going to be Callahan. Is it Smith? Is it Ashcroft? Probably should be Ashcroft, because he's playing West Coast, and now his role is, it's not.
Oh, he's a must-have, Janath.
But it's
you've got to get him.
He's the biggest must-have, and then Lindsay is like under that sort of thing. He's still
I need both the buggers.
Not as big as Levi.
I can't get them all. I can't get Lindsay, Ashcroft, and Baz. Oh, I'm getting my boy. I'm getting Levi in. I don't care.
Get your boy in.
Yeah. I'm getting my boy in. I think that's probably all that I had. It was mainly that Lindsay question for me. Yeah. I think, Janath, more than anything, mate.
All good. We'll quickly touch on the rucks. Not really much to see here. I think Liam Reid is a non-option. Like, Luke Jackson is their best ruckman. Like, I feel like even with Sean Darcy in the side, like Jackson, to maximize Jackson, I feel like you got to play him in the ruck. And it's sad because Sean Darcy is a really good ruckman, but they just don't work. Liam Reid in the ruck is just an experiment that won't work until he puts on size, that sort of thing. Like, if you can't beat Sam DeConning in the ruck, you're not a ruckman. Like, simple.
That's a little
Harry
drive-by for you, Sammy.
Harry Boyd played decently. Tough matchup playing Adelaide. Should get easier versus Sam DeConning. Now we'll see if Harry Boyd is a ruckman. I feel like this may be a running gag at this point. But Rowan Marshall, quite interestingly, I think he was only 14% CBAs on the weekend. So Harry Boyd, even with Marshall in the side, was playing. So it was 63% ruck contest for Harry Boyd, 32% ruck contest for Rowan Marshall. And so the split there makes me think that Harry Boyd is in their plans going long term, but I think we just need to wait and see what the return of Mitch Owens, what the return of Max King looks like. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll get to see Max King in the same side as Owens, as Marshall, as Boyd to see what the ramifications are there. But if you have Boyd at your R3, I would hold. If you don't have Boyd at your R3, I'll probably just wait a week because he's probably not going to be on your field this week anyway.
Fair. Yeah.
And then Archer Reed, who I went with, yes, didn't score as well as Harry Boyd, but you almost pay enough for the DPP at that point. You're not really considering it as an on-field option in that regard as of yet. But he did play in the ruck in the fourth quarter, and Matty Flynn was put forward because they were not looking very great at clearances, something that we'll probably talk about or touch on coming up. And in terms of the forwards, look, this is a rabble. I hate to say it. Kako looked really good on Friday, but then what do we really have here? It's just a bunch of misfits, really. Like Corey Warner. Corey Warner is
really. It is.
Get around
Corey
him.
Warner was looking quite good. He's averaging 61, breaking even at minus 39. He's on the bubble this week. For someone that's looking to get on forward, so 150k. Elijah Hewitt is a player that I started long-term investment. Really, he's probably not going to score overly well, especially tough matchup this week at the Gabba. But then there's not really too many players that are sort of eye-opening. Like Maxi Hall looked really good as a marking leader forward for the Saints. But what happens when Mitch Owens comes back? Who goes out? Is it a Hall? I guess we'll get the opportunity to see this week. And then Sam Davidson plus matchup against North Melbourne just wasn't able to capitalize. It was a really weird game because it didn't feel like the pressure was on necessarily, but he just couldn't capitalize. And I guess that's what we'll come to see with a lot of these wingers. And your reservations about Lindsay, just like Davidson, is right, DR. Like, he's playing North Melbourne this week. Will the same happen to him? I guess that's where you never see Davidson going into the stoppages, but when you see Lindsay going into the stoppages, it sort of gives that sort of elevator floor because he may be the outlet for the longer kick in. But what difference is that in terms of points? I guess that's what we need to gauge ourselves.
Yeah. Look, I can't add much more to that. I think you've covered them. You've got guys like your Hanson Jr. there, Harry Armstrong. It's just nothing really fills you with great confidence. And this is why I am a little bit worried about my forward setup because I didn't go with your Baz. I didn't go with your Rankin. And I think I needed to start with one of those and then most likely bring probably another one in within the next couple of weeks. So a little bit of a concern for me there and no names really standing out. But again, make sure that you do check the Third Man Up on Twitter /X, whatever you're calling it these days, because Janath Ross particular just absolutely smashed the data. So
you can't get more Supercoach data. Like you just can't. Not anywhere.
No way. Not possible.
Cheers, boys.
All right. We're going to get into some popular trades now. So what we've done here is we're going to break it up and we'll go through this pretty quickly. We're already at 40 odd minutes, boys. I'll tell you what, we can absolutely talk here. This is what you get from me hosting as well, mind you. But we are going to go through some popular trade ins and trade outs. We're going to go through the premiums, mid prices, and then the rookies. We've got 10 names on each of the slides here. We don't need to necessarily discuss every one of them, but we'll go through certainly the most relevant ones. So we're starting off with the premiums here. And up the top is my boy, Josh Dunkley. Wow. What do we say about Josh Dunkley? Well, he played a little bit better than Lachie Neale. I can tell you that much. But look, Janath, I'm going to try to take my bias out of this and I'm going to pass it on to you because you were a Dunkley owner last year while Spills and I went the other way with Lachie, just a little drive-by from 2024. So I'm going to put this in your hands, mate. I'm a line supporter, but you were the ex-owner. What do you think about this Dunkley trade-in? He's the number one when it comes to premiums, 500 and above. You're shaking your head. Not a fan of the Dunkley in.
I'll put it back to you this way. Over under how many weeks will it take for Lachie Neale to surpass Josh Dunkley in total points? I'm saying 3. 3 weeks. He'll make up the 100-point gap in 3 weeks. 120-point gap.
When Chucky gives me a 220 this week. I'm hoping one.
Because look, this is the difference, right? I felt like Dunkley played the perfect game. The only game I've seen him play better is back a couple of years ago against Carlton. He had a 10-tackle, 10-mark game against us at Marvel Stadium. That was the first game that we boys met up at.
Yes.
That
was a really good game.
Janath, I think about the infamous double ton in 2019 when he played against his brother who debuted, which was crazy.
Fair enough. When I say best Dunkley game I've seen for the Lions, because the Dogs is a very conducive, Supercoach friendly sort of team. Lions, yes, no, maybe. I guess we'll find out. But with Lachie, I think he'll bounce back. And I don't know, game sort of suited Dunkley to a T. He just wasn't getting... He was just around the ball everywhere. It's not the worst pick, but the thing that I would hate to see is a coach going Neale to Dunkley this week. And I would so strongly advise against that because the fact is Lachie Neale's not going to put up a 40 every week. He's not going to get tagged by James Jordan every week or Toby Bedford because they're so rare, those kinds of taggers. Yes, Dunkley won't get it, but I feel like you can't chase last week's points. You're not going to get that 173 that his owners did. And so I don't really recommend it. Off the players that are on this list, I think if you haven't started them, the only player that I would consider restructuring my side to bring in is Isaac Rankin. Because Tom De Koning, I feel, was a pretty safe selection to start off with. If you have a Matt Flynn and you need an R2, De Koning's a good enough selection. But I feel with the other players, they're all in lines where you can't chase the points of last week. Whereas with the Rankin, his role is so disgusting. Like, he's not playing forward anymore. He's playing pure midfield. Yes, the CBAs don't show up, but he's around the ball. And then when he goes forward, he's as dangerous as ever. I think
he's F1, Janath. I honestly reckon he's F1.
I can see it. Yeah. Look, we were sort of touting him and Jason on France as the F1, F2. Rankin is the only player here, along with the Bailey Smith that we'll talk about, given how scarce those good forwards are, that are worth a team restructure. Or even trading out let's say Riley Sanders and then facilitating some funds if you have from somewhere to get to a Rankin.
Well, just for our audio listeners, I'll go through 1 to 10 very quickly. So 1, we have Dunkley, followed by TDK, Maxi Holmes, Isaac Rankin, Connor O'Z at number 5, Dan Houston at 6, which is an interesting one for me. Dane Zorko, the Magician, at 7, Jai Caldwell, massive pod, coming in at 8, Spillsy's boy, Tristan Sherry at number 9, and Bailey Dale at number 10.
Wouldn't you see like the thing which I think is so deceptive about this is a lot of these players are not eye test players. All of these players scored above 120. And so I think a lot of the coaches, especially at the top end right now, that are thinking that they've got to keep up this pace, will look to sideways that underperforming player to one of these players. And I think it's the wrong strategy. Whilst, yes, it could pay off, sideways in so early in the season is one less trade you'll have at the end of the season when the inevitable injuries, the suspensions comes about.
Agree, mate. Agree. Spills, anything you want to add to the most popular traded in premiums, mate?
Yeah, a lot of like Houston's a funny one. Like, obviously has a buy. It seems like a lot of point chasing there. I think Dunkley is the biggest one, and yeah, I see a lot of Neale being traded out. I don't like that. I think you picked him for a reason. We'll discuss that in a minute. So yeah, that one doesn't make sense to me. I think Rankin's a tough one because he's pretty hard to get there. Like, unless you have a Sanders, you can go down and go up maybe, but yeah, it's stock standard. Rose is one that I missed out on. That was really disappointing. And we obviously I can't believe he's not on the list. Obviously, he's not a premium, but Bailey Smith, he's by far the most traded player this week. I think it's about 15%, which is crazy because his ownership's already in the 60s. So like 80% of the coaches after this week are probably going to have him. So you got to get Baz. So he's one that we definitely need to mention while we're on the
next slide, mate. Next slide. One more slide.
Here we go. Lockie Neal.
2.4. What are you doing? What are you doing there?
Out.
Oh,
Can we talk him out of it? What is going on here?
Well, very quickly, Spills. I'll go through 1 to 10. We've got Neil, Luke Ryan, Timmy English, Lloyd Meek, Jason Horn, Francis, Nick Dacos, number 14, Jordan Ridley. See you later, Riddler. Sorry, Spilsy. Come on, Darcy Cameron, Nick Martin. Poor old Nick Martin again's getting the flick after the first week, and Daniel Rioli from the Gold Coast Suns. But the most popular player is Lockie Neal, 2.4%. This is what I'll quickly say. If you trade out Neal this week to someone like Josh Dunkley, and Dunkley was the top of the list, so I'm assuming there's a fair few Neal to Dunkley traders out there, you are locking in a loss. You are locking in that loss. You're not going to get Dunkley's points.
Yep.
And I'll guarantee you right now, put my reputation on the line here, he will not score below 41. He won't go close to that again this season. He won't give you a sub 50 score unless of injury this season, Lockie Neal. So I'll guarantee that you are simply locking in a loss. Now, the reason why some of us started Lockie Neal was because of this nice early run. I knew that he wouldn't score well against Sydney. We know this. He's copping a hard tag. I didn't think it'd be as low as a 40, but he's not going to be doing that again. I'll promise you that. We get rid of the tag game, and then we have a really nice run coming up. West Coast and Richmond in the next 3. We play Geelong in the middle. So I think it's absolutely crazy trading out Lockie Neal. Don't get me wrong. If he is a fully fit Lockie Neal playing West Coast this week and he dishes up a 90, I'm going to get rid of him. See you later, Lockie. That's probably enough for me. I'm getting out of Dodgeville. Personally, other people may keep on holding the faith. But this week, hold on to Lockie Neal is all I can say. Jason Horn-Francis is another one. How reactionary are people getting here? Don't trade out Jason Horn-Francis. It wasn't a disaster type score. It was like an 83, I think, close to that. Keep him in your side. This is 1 week where he's copped a bit of a tag, not his greatest game. He will absolutely bounce back. So they're probably the 2 big ones for me that stand
Horn-Francis
out.
to Rankin. That's not the way to go, in my opinion.
No.
Personally.
You in an ideal world, you have Horn-Francis, Rankin, and Smith. You don't have 2 of the 3 by trading out 1 of the 3 for the other one.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. You want to have them all there, don't you, in an ideal world? Janath, anything that you want to touch on, mate, before we
Nah,
we
not
move
really. Apart from, I saw that it's 1,294 coaches that have gone Dunkley to Neal, and I hope that if anyone that's listening to the podcast right now is a part of that 1,294, that you just cool your jets. Look, I've done it with some players in the past where you just trade them out, give them a bit of an amp up. So say, see you later, Lockie. Come on down, Joshy. And then on Thursday, yes, you revert the trade. Just give them a good old pump up, a bit of a spray. They sometimes deserve it. They're back in the team on Thursday night. So hopefully that's the way you're going. I don't want to see too many trades of Neal to Dunkley going through on Thursday.
It doesn't get any more reactionary than that, does it? I mean, no. Neal's going to dominate.
Yeah. You got to give him
get
a pump
it out
up
of your
sometimes.
system. Actually trade him, then reverse it. I like it. Just get that rage trade out, mate. All right, let's go to the mid prices. So, Spillsy, you touched on it before, mate. Baz is, well, so far up the top of the list, it's not funny. So we've got Baz at number 1. 2 is Sam DeConning. So both the DeConning boys getting a lot of love in early 2025. Jack McRae. Oh, sorry, no offense to anyone, but how you didn't start with Jack McRae, I've got no idea. It was the biggest no-brainer in the world, but good to see you fixing that up now. Joel Frazier at number 4.
Fridge.
Jack Ross at number 5. Daniel McKay at number. I didn't look. I just quickly snipped and copied and pasted this list. I didn't actually look at it before I started the pod. Dan McStay. Okay. 7 is Carl Amon. 8 is Caleb Daniel again. Why didn't you start with him? 9 is Matty Roberts, and number 10. We've seen this before, haven't we? We've seen this
every year. Every year.
Every
Coming
year.
in at
Every single
number
year.
10. Now, very quickly, boys, if I can just jump in really, really quickly. McRae and Daniel, yes, you probably should have already had, but yeah, really obvious pick, particularly Jack McRae. Bailey Smith, Spillsy, I'm going to go to you. We've got to do it. This is an absolute no-brainer, non-negotiable this week that we have to bring in Baz if we haven't already got him.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I wasn't going to originally just because it does hurt to particularly down defense. And I'll discuss that with me trade. So, yeah, Baz is but while we've got McRae up, boys, I've got to give someone a drive-by here. Kane Corns, what are you on about? So he's saying Jackson McRae is not a good mid. Like, he shouldn't even be playing in the midfield. He's not damaging. I mean, he had 34 disposals, like 20, almost 25 contested. Like, he's unreal. I think something about his age or whatnot, but yeah, didn't like that from Kano. So McRae's a jet. You've got to bring him in. He's the GOAT. It's good to have him back. The stints of 2019 McRae about this. So there's just a few weird ones here. Like, I like Freya, but Jack Ross, really? I don't know. Was that such a bit of a one-off game? I can't justify that one. Like, McStay, yeah, he kicked a bit of a bag, but he's going to be that on and off. I mean, he probably what's the bet that he doesn't even kick a goal on the weekend? Unreliable role. Amon, I don't mind. I've always liked him as a player. Obviously got that buy, and don't know how much meat there is on the bones, DR. But yeah, he's a good one. And yeah, Roberts, Daniel, obvious, Rampy. Every year, boys. He makes the list every single season. He's always in the top 10. Unbelievable. He's trade bait.
Like Dan McStay, Sam Powell-Pepper will score more than Dan McStay this week. Lock it in.
I'll go with that, man.
Sam Powell-Pepper more than Dan McStay.
Watch
him be the sub now. I'll get dropped, even from leadership group after that 18. But, Janath, anything that sort of floats your boat here, mate, or anything that really stands out? I want to talk about one bloke in particular in a minute, but anything that you want to touch on, mate, before I get to...
I think the bloke you may be talking about is HP, Harry Perriman.
We'll talk about him in a sec.
But I think that is the most popular trade.
He's involved,
isn't it? Yes.
It's Sam DeConning.
Sam
DeConning. Now, I want to give Abs a bit of a shout out here. Now, I saw a tweet from him earlier. And it says, I'm going to read from here. And you can't see it on the screen, but I'll read it. SDK, 80% CBAs, 40% ruck time, Neil rucking forward, Blitzarv's rucking in defense. SDK is only really covering the midfield here. Scores his points from possessions similar to a midfielder, 25 touches on the weekend. He is a midfielder that plays ruck and takes intercept marks. A midfielder that plays ruck and takes intercept marks. Now, can you get a better role than that? Look, I'm not saying absolutely lock in, guarantee this pick, but I think he's a really interesting pick. There's a lot to like about him potentially. And we did mention a guy by the name of Harry Perriman. So I think that's going to be a pretty popular trade for some teams this week, potentially myself included. I'm not too sure yet. But Janath, could you give us your quick thoughts on the Sam DeConning trade in this week?
What are
your thoughts?
It's so tough because I think if you did want to bring him in, this is probably the week. This is a week that you can bring him in and expect a good score playing against St Kilda and Harry Boyd.
Yeah.
Whereas I think afterwards, when you play, it's like if you could ask for the two matchups that you want to have to start off your season when you're not a ruckman, is probably Luke Jackson and Liam Reedy, and then Harry Boyd. Like, that's almost too perfect. And we really won't get a look at, before the price rise, a really good look at how DeConning goes, because then afterwards, this is his run. Oscar McInerney, Max Gawn, Riley O'Brien. And how much of the early cash gen do you just lose straight off the bat with those three matchups? Then he's got his brother, which is a good matchup for him. But at that point, do you just cut bait? Like going up against Maxi Gawn, Sam DeConning wasn't even wearing a shin guard on the weekend. He's going to get mauled by Maxi. And so what really happens there, I think that's something really interesting. I would give it another week because we can really get to see that role in action. And I don't know, there's just something about me with Chris Scott and Sam DeConning. I feel like he plays too much funny buggers with SDK. Like, you can never get. If you were to tell me that Sam DeConning, if someone had a crystal ball and told me Sam DeConning is the number one ruck for Geelong all season long, he doesn't get injured and he won't go back into defense, which means that the Geelong key defenders haven't gotten injured. Because if Tom Stewart gets injured, they're not going to bring in a Cono. Well, he's already in the team, but they're not going to bring in I don't know who exactly. I think it was like a Jed Beers and leave DeConning in the ruck. I think DeConning is the magnet that can be moved, and then a ruckman like a Reece Stanley comes back in.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely than the defense being restructured or like a like-for-like replacement for one of those defenders.
I think
remember, boys,
you
played like
concern.
2/3 of that Amy's game, like with the Bombers. 2/3 of it down back. Looked good too.
That's
really
the concern,
good,
though. But you don't pay $400K for a key defender.
I need another
And
week.
that's what,
Really need another week here. The problem is,
those...
you go Perryman down to him. There's not enough money to get anyone else up to Smith.
Yeah.
So that's my main issue. So my hands are tied. Like with my team, I've actually got to hold off on SDK, which is good because I do want to give him another week. I just don't trust Chris Scott.
But I want him against St Kilda as well, which is a trouble. I'm worried that it's like you wait another week, he kills St Kilda, and then as Janath said, you know that he's got this run coming up. So it's like I almost reckon if you're keen on DeConning
this week or next,
you've got to go this week.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where we wait another week because as you said, your first matchup against Dog is gone. Then the second matchup is the real juicy one against St Kilda. And then it's not looking too rosy from there. So I reckon if you're jumping on him, you've got to jump on this fixture this week. I don't like the thought of waiting another week, seeing him play really well, selecting him, and then having the worry, okay, well, now he's coming up against a decent ruckman. Is my confidence level still the same? So that's my personal view on bringing him in. What we still need to
go back to is playing against the double ruck setup. He didn't pass the eye test. I think we can't forget that because that was something that we were concerned with, is that he just doesn't look like a natural ruckman. And I don't think beating up on Fremantle with Reedy and Jackson is enough justification to bring him in. Because this isn't a 1 week investment. You're not just buying him for the St Kilda matchup. You're buying him for the next 5 weeks. And off those 5 weeks, 3 of them are arguably 3 of the harder ruck matchups in the league, in Brisbane, in Melbourne, in Adelaide.
Damn. All right. I'm going to have to quickly edit the slide with my trades.
No, I mean, that's just my take, mate. You don't have to change it.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say, a player, Bailey Smith, is a must-have, whether that be this week or next. I think he's a different story because we know what he's going to be. And he was playing off of the wing. Playing off of the wing at GMHBA and making it look easy, he's an animal. He moves so freely that the knee strapping was like not a hindrance at all. Like, he was so clean as well. Yeah. That's something we didn't really see at the Bulldogs a lot. And that was quite sad because he's such a prodigy. But the hands inside were so clean. Like, he's going to be such a good get for the Cats going forward. They just never suck. And it's just something as a Blues fan.
Yeah, they turn up every year.
You're so envious about. Every year they're just regenerating. But the fridge, Joel Frazier, he was... If you told me that there's 2 players on this list that are midfielders that play in the ruck and can take an intercept mark, that's Sam DeConning and Joel Frazier. Frazier was playing backup ruck as well.
Unreal. What is going on here, people?
He's a jet. I knew last year when I had him to end the season that he's a jet. He could play anywhere. He's that good of a player.
Matty was a big fan. I sent him a message on behalf of another very big content creator asking about Joel Frazier. And he said, well, I reckon he'll average about 25 touches a game, Matty said. So he's very keen on his Dogs, man. But I tell you what, for the minutes, pretty on the ball. But let's change pace here, mate, and look at some of the most popular traded out players in our mid-price range. And we've got Perriman, Sanders, my friend Hugo Garcia, my man Kyle Lohman. Don't know why people started with Kyle Lohman. That's an interesting one. But anyway, Brent Daniels comes in next. Harley Reid, Will Ashcroft. Look at some of these young guns, some of the names on this list. Sam Taylor, James Peatling, and Will Day. So we'll start with the man up the top, mate, Harry Perryman. Really keen to hear your thoughts here because I'm seriously contemplating moving him on this week. And the main reason is I'd like to give him another week. The main reason is I'm trying to find a way to get funds to get Baz into my side, which I think is really important. So what are your thoughts on Harry Perryman, mate? Is he someone that we should be giving another week? Have you seen enough to trade him out? Give us your thoughts on HP.
This comes back to that trading strategy because I think it's so important to consider Perriman as part of the greater whole rather than just for this week or just for next week. If the only way that you can make the 4 trades that you want is to go early on one of the trades this week, and that's Perriman to Bailey Smith, I can see the justification there. And there's a couple of lines of thinking here. One is, what's really happened to the role that Perriman had in the preseason? It's really not what we've come to see here. And that may be Ned Long's influence here, but he's almost playing as a tagger. And we didn't really bring in Perriman as a tag. We were looking at him as the under the ball or under the stoppage, getting the ball out to Nick Dacos. But when you're so preoccupied with playing as a tagger, it's man first, ball second. And I think that's the mentality there, which feels like the GWS mentality rather than the Collingwood mentality that's got to him. And now that we think about it, 93 against GWS, 62 against Port. Yes, he'll probably play well against the Bulldogs. Then he has the bye. Then he has Carlton, Sydney, Brisbane, even Essendon. Carlton's probably a plus matchup at this point. But the other three,
don't be too harsh on him.
Sydney, Brisbane, Essendon. I think they're tough matchups. And if you had to cut bait on someone out of Short, Roberts, Perriman, I would go to Smith. I would do that. But I would, if I had to rank, if somehow you can go from Garcia, Sanders, Perriman to Smith, I would go Sanders and Garcia ahead of Perriman. But if the only way you can fund the Smith trade is through Perriman down, then I would do that. In the case where you own all 3 of them. But Sanders to Smith is a trade in its own right. I think the problem with Sanders, again, is he just doesn't lack the activeness to be deep entrenched in that midfield. I just don't see it just as yet. He may come along to it. He may be a star of the future, but it's too early in his second season. I think another interesting one here is James Peatling. Again, the role just isn't there. Matt Crouch has been really relied upon in the midfield. And now with Rankin in there, even though he's not playing as a pure centre-bounce midfielder, the fact that he's in and around the midfield is taking touches away from Peatling there. So I think Peatling as a pick may also be just circumstantially hurt in that way. And then the funny part here, mate, is the popular trade-outs. So many of them are pre-season mid-prices we thought about. Perriman, Sanders, Garcia. Not really highly rated. Will Ashcroft, James Peatling, Will Day, and I have to mention Rossco here. We got a bet lined up on Brent Daniels being a top 3 forward. He thinks he's a top 3 forward by average. If he wins, I got to shout him a case of beer. If I win and he's not a top 6 forward, so we got the 3 to 6 buffer there, just the neutral. But if he's not a top 6 forward, Rossco will shout me something. So,
Rossco, get your wallet ready, son.
I'll get your wallet ready. Put the words out of your mouth there, dear.
You're taking Janath down for a nice dinner, I think, mate. You're in trouble, mate, unfortunately.
We're going straight to Nobu.
Yeah, mate, yeah. Really nice and expensive. Will Ashcroft, someone I'll quickly touch on. This is a very difficult one. And why it's so difficult is because of the matchup that he's got this week. He's playing West Coast this week. So I could seriously see Will Ashcroft coming out with a nice 115 against the Eagles and then people going, oh my goodness, why did I trade him out? I got him for this run. But in saying that, if Will Ashcroft is getting you Bailey Smith, I would have absolutely no problems doing it. I think you've just got to do something like that if he's the player that you need to trade out to get Smith. But I'm a fan of giving him one more week. It'd be nice if I could just give him one more week just because of this matchup. I really like the matchup, and he's much better than what he showed on the weekend. So Ashcroft's probably the only one I'll touch on. And Hugo Garcia, well, as you saw from my rant, he is absolutely gone for me. I just don't see a future for for Hugo Garcia, and I think he is close to a must-trade out. Very close to a must-trade out for me. The time on ground, the price, just get rid of him.
I think most of the top three there, I think all of them are almost must-trades at this point.
I wouldn't say Perriman's a must-trade.
Yeah.
No.
I would say
it's circumstance. Circumstance for Smith, I think.
Yeah. I might have missed something before, but Janath, is he tagging? Didn't catch any of the game.
He is tag. He wasn't playing as your Toby Bedford style of tagger, but he was playing or the Camden McIntosh style of tag on Cripps. But Perriman was playing accountable. He wasn't playing ball first. He was playing man first.
Yeah, he dishes up a 60
on Horn Francis
or whatever it was, which is nearly breaking
everyone else
even.
In the Collingwood team is going off their head, kicking goals. You stand out pretty badly when you're not getting involved as part of it.
Yeah, he's 300k more than you defend the rookies, and he's nearly breaking even with them when he's tagging. I think he's a liability if he's doing that. If he's tagging, I want out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will say it wasn't his style of game though. It wasn't a contested game. It was so free flowing, that sort of thing. So perhaps his score was just a product of that. But yeah, with the run coming up, I just don't see a world where he can make us enough money. He's not like George Hewitt. George Hewitt in 2023 or 2 came out of the blocks firing. 120 in the first week, 110 in the second week, that sort of thing. We just haven't seen that with Perriman. I think that's where the parallels will start to diverge a little bit.
Beautiful. All right. Let's move on to the rookies now. So the most popular traded in rookies, I don't think there's any surprise, Xavier Lindsay, Janaths man right up the top there at number 1, followed by Max Hall, Levi Ashcroft, Noddy, Nathan O'Driscoll, Corey Warner, Luke Traynor, Rolly Bice, Mitch Nevitt, Harry Boyd, and Ben Patton actually getting traded in after being subbed. Very
I will say with Ben Patton, I reckon those 0.9% of people are looking for the Bailey Smith venture. The avenue to get to Smith from a defender.
I'm one of them, mate. It's not Patton, but my boy Bice. See what he can do.
Bicey.
Yeah,
but we've touched on all of these. I reckon
played one game as a sub, but
it's beggars can't be choosers. DR. You got to find someone to get Perriman to.
Are we that bloody desperate? Go for a bloke that's played one game as a sub. Are we like?
I think he could become a good loophole with Stone. I like that.
I don't want a loophole. I would have started a loophole at the start and got SDK
score. It's not ideal.
You know what I mean?
How did 15% of people start Bice when he was the sub? There must be a bunch of dead teams in there, I reckon.
I'd probably rather Bice than Liam O'Connell, who I've got, who played the full game for his 27 or whatever. He got the buggers. So,
at least he didn't get subbed off, mate. Not a sub risk. Come on.
True that.
I'll take
the 27 in run. All right, now for me, I'm going to say Levi Ashcroft, massive tick. Yeah. Yes, Levi. Same as Nathan O'Driscoll. We're going to refer to, I've read him as Noddy, so I just said Nathan O'Driscoll for those people that can't see it on the screen, but Noddy, Janaths touched on him before. Nice CBA role, particularly while Young's out. Even when Young comes back in, moves back to that wing, mature body, I think he can score enough to be a really, really nice rookie. So I think he's a big tick. Warner, I'm not too sure about. If you're desperate, maybe. Trainer impressive, but I don't think you're going to rely on a big score from week to week. But job security, I think, should be good. I was impressed with his game. Nevitt, are we saying Nevitt's a must-have?
Yeah.
At the price? Yep. Nevitt's a must-have at under 150K.
If he doesn't get subbed, 100%.
He's in the second rotation of midfielders. So that's the only thing that I would be a bit hesitant about. But look, with Geelong, he was the third. He was third from CBAs at the Cats. Atkins, Holmes, Nevitt, Stewart. Those are the only 4 above 50%. Nevitt, 56%. But when you start with Atkins, Holmes, Stewart in the first CBA, Bailey Smith only at 26%. But I think he will have a sustainable role outside of it. That's Smith, that is. Nevitt, I think he's been a preseason standout. And it was good to see finally a rookie option that had a good preseason, that had a good game, and just followed through with it. I'm looking at you, Elijah Sardis.
Yeah, Elijah, your boy Spills. And I liked his defensive pressure as well, Nevitt. I think he really...
11 tackles, I think.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's terrific. And that shows the coach that, hey, mate, I'm willing to do the dirty work. select him every week. So I think that's there. That bodes really, really well for Nevitt, particularly that defensive pressure. All right, let's get to the blokes that people are trading out. It's not great, is it? When the first two blokes are highlighted, that means you've got them in your side. That's not great. Number one is Sam Powell-Pepper. Number two is Elijah Sardis. I'm sick of saying his name. Number three is James Lee. 4 is Langford, followed by Sid
They're all
Draper,
terrible.
Sullivan,
They're
Baglia, who I don't know why people started him. Cleary, obviously out with injury. Erasmus, again, why'd we start him? And Boxall. You had O'Connell, you had Hasty, you had like 20 blokes debuting for St Kilda, and you've gone Boxall, which is an interesting selection. But boys, probably the interesting one for me is the man right up the top there, Sam Powell-Pepper. Now, Janath, can you please give me any context to this? Have you got any idea what on earth happened here?
For someone that is in their club's leadership group, I don't think I've seen a more insipid performance. That was part of the reason we brought him in, was the fact that you can't disappear out of a game if you're part of a leadership group. But some of the performances, the half performances, kicking the ball off the ground, just getting annoyed and not getting near the ball. There was no CBAs. There's no sack butters. Like, what are you doing, Ken? Just put him in there. Let him use his brute force or something. I think we were a bit optimistic about what Powell-Pepper can do, given his performance over the last couple of years. But even with Richmond this week, I don't think, no matter what he scores, it's going to be very hard to justify not trading him out to a midfielder like a Lindsay and using a bit of DPP there, because when you play, he had good time on ground. He wasn't subbed out or anything, not injured, nothing. Lowest ranked play on the ground, 78% time on ground. Just I can't really justify.
The dirty day at the office, though, for the pair. I mean, he was just the beneficiary of that. He couldn't get anywhere
beneficiary. Near it. Jeez, if anything,
that's not a word, is it? I don't know. I said it with confidence, boys, so I just run with that. But playing Richmond this week at home, I think he can turn around. I'm not opposed
what can he
to
score?
holding.
Because the role isn't there for him to score 100. He's playing as a half forward. He's not even a high half forward. He's not getting up to stoppages.
What was that game he played in the community series? He had like 20 and kicked 2. That was what I was hoping we'd get a little bit more of. That's why I always had him locked in before Levi was canned as sub. I was going to pick him because I was pretty confident. So it was a big upset for me. I didn't see that coming from Sunny Boy.
The guy had really 6 years averaging in the 60s to 70s, though. I don't think it's a real stretch to assume. That was the main reason for me. So I thought it's a safe 60 to 70, and he shouldn't be dropped or sub because he's in the leadership group. Mature body, that was my thoughts around the selection. Just a nice, money maker, do a bit of a job for us on field and not give us any dud scores like an 18. All right, Janath, I'll throw this one out at you.
Yes.
I have, as you can actually see on the screen, I'm not just making this up, but it's just disastrous. I have Sam Powell-Pepper, Elijah Sardis, and Finn O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
I'm in a scenario where I need to trade one of these blokes this week.
2.
In order to bring in Bailey Smith and make some other moves.
Yeah.
Could you have maybe a rating from 1 to 3? Number 1, who you trade out first.
Yeah.
To 3, who you're least keen on trading at the moment. Don't think we should add any names to this list. I think
it's in the order that's listed there. Powell-Pepper first, Sardis second, O'Sullivan third. O'Sullivan.
I have to agree with Janath there.
Maybe Sardis 1. The only swap I'd have is maybe Sardis and Powell-Pepper, but it's personal preference depending on positional scarcity. Yep. O'Sullivan won't get dropped. That's where I come back to. And debut game, he just didn't get the ball distributed much, but he was calling for it, and he looked good. I thought he passed the eye test, just didn't pass the score. Sardis didn't pass the eye test because he just wasn't on the ground enough to do that. Whereas Powell-Pepper,
it's hard to get the eye test when he's not bloody there. Yeah,
he's not there. He's on the bench, but he looked good when he was on. That's the problem, is that the scoring is not the issue. If he got 90% time on ground, he'd average bloody 110. He's a good midfielder getting it out sort of thing. But Powell-Pepper, oh my goodness. This is one of those players where I've never felt more frustrated, I don't think, in a starting pick, because all the signs point to him being able to average 65 to 70, being an easy cash cow. But after coming out with an 18, like, what can you really do? Like, I want to trade him out so bad, but I know he's going to score 90 this week if he does. But then even if he scores a 90, he's playing such a bad role that what's he going to score in a game that he's not playing Richmond?
Yeah, I know that's the only reason why I would probably flip Sardis and Power Pepper is just because I'm pretty damn sure that I'm going to be trading both of them. I've got a feeling both are going to be going. So I'm thinking, okay, if I'm locking one in this week, locking one in next week, I'm looking at the matchup. And for me, it's the matchup of Sam Power Pepper versus Richmond, which would probably just put him below Sardis.
What's he got to score, DR? What's Sam Power Pepper got to go for you to go, I'm gonna hold him?
Probably nothing. Like, I think I'm trading him out regardless, almost, Spills. It's like,
as tons Janath up, said, you're going, all right. What if he tons up?
No, sorry. You know what? If he no, do you know what? I will say I'll keep him if he goes 90 plus, because remember that 18 is the first score out of his system.
Yeah.
That 90, just say it's a 90. At least we're going to have that for two of those price rises. Well, rise, whatever it is. So yeah, I will.
It's
sorry,
I'll backtrack. Just one big score is all it takes, but then at the same time, 118 is all it takes to just rule.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like that's why I almost agree with you, DR, because I think Sardis with Parrish to come back in, I can't see a world where Sardis, Hobbs, Parrish, Caldwell, Merritt, they can't all coexist in the same team. Like, that's too many midfielders in one team.
Yeah, well, and my question would be, what gets him up from his 57% to 70%? What needs to happen for
probably
that?
Hobbs being made sub, isn't it? And Parrish not coming back. A Parrish injury and Hobbs being made sub, that's a lot to ask for, I reckon.
Is that then an easy swap then? So you start with Sardis, you start with Hobbs as sub, Sardis on, and then just go, well, there you go, Elijah, there's your 50 off your cam. I don't know. So, but yeah, we're all agreeing that we're probably giving Finn another week.
I reckon Finn gets a good stay.
Finn gets a week.
I'm backing Finn. Just bench him.
He's going to come good. He'll be a long burn. What is it? He'll be a long burn, but he'll come good, I reckon.
All right, beautiful.
You like games where he pops. He's more capable of 90 plus on the odd occasion.
All right, we've got a couple more topics before we're going to get to the mailbag. Janath, trading strategy block.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this, mate. So we know in the next couple of weeks, we are going to see some price rises. And for lots of us, we're looking at the next 2 weeks as a trading block as a whole. We can use up to 6 trades if you want to activate 2 of our boosts. Ideally, we don't want to do that. We want some boosts in the bank. But if we need to make some early changes and need to get aggressive in order to get back with the pack, we do have the option to use up to 6 in 2 weeks if possible. So, Janath, talk to us about how you're going to approach the next 2 weeks in regards to your trades and what people may potentially look to do in this next 2-week block.
So I think you put it perfectly, DI, is that we have up to 6 trades to use over these next 2 weeks. The most aggressive coaches typically use all 6 trades, and often what happens is your team at the end of round 3 looks nothing like the team that you started off with, because we have price changes this week for some teams, but more often than not, you're really looking for those rookie correction errors. So we just talked right there. It's a perfect segue. Sam Power Pepper, Elijah Sardis, and possibly Finn O'Sullivan are 3 rookies that we go and look like they could be corrected. If they have direct swaps that you don't have in your team, I'm talking the must-have rookies here. O'Driscoll, Ashcroft, Nevitt. I know I'm missing one, but Lindsay, for instance, yes. So if you don't have those players, but you have the first couple of players that we mentioned, those maybe 1, 2, 3, or possibly 4 rookies. I doubt you don't have all 4 of those must-have rookies that we mentioned, but those at least 4 trades that you want to make over this 2-week period. So that leaves you 2 sideways trades or 2 trades from a Perriman to a Smith that you can make. Or you can use those 2, you can put together 2 mid-price like a Sanders and a Peatling and get up to a Rankin and another rookie. So when we're looking at this holistically, what you want to go with this week is for one of two reasons. One, you either think they're big must-haves, so that's a player like a Levi Ashcroft, or two, it's a player that you believe has a really good matchup this week that you want to target specifically for best 18. So, for instance, that's something like a Xavier Lindsay, in my opinion. And you know that you can go earlier this week on them, get an extra week of data on those other players that you may look to be trading over this 2-week period. So this is what we mean is really important. And I think it's really important to be proactive. If you see, let me use a good example from one of the early games. Let's say, okay, so you've got the Essendon Adelaide game played Saturday at 1:20 at the MCG. Elijah Sardis scores 30. You know Sardis needs to be traded out. So when you're thinking about the trades this week, you want to make sure that you can accommodate enough money through the trades you make this week to fund next week's trades. And whether that be Sardis up to a Smith, for instance. How can you make 200K in this week's trades to do that if you only want to use one trade next week? Or how can I make 200K for next week using 2 trades this week and 2 trades next week? So some coaches may not want to use a boost at all. Some coaches may want to use 1 boost this week or 1 boost next week, or 1 boost or 2 boosts in both this week, like this week and next week. So those are the options that you really have. I think a lot of good planning is required, though, being proactive, seeing what scores happens from the players you either want to trade out or the players you want to trade in, and making a plan sort of dynamically change and evolve as the week goes along.
Brilliant advice, mate. And I love the fact that you're always looking forward. We really do need to look forward in this game. It's not about just what's happening this week, even the week after. We really need to look, particularly while we've got the opportunity to make trades before prices actually change. They're just crucial moves. And I think this is why so many people are stressing at the moment with what to do, because they are some of the biggest moves that you'll make during the season. So wonderful advice there, brother. Now let's quickly touch on some best 18 strategies. So obviously in the next 3 weeks, we will have the bye period coming up, the early season buys. So in round 2, which is obviously this week, we've got the Gold Coast Suns and the Giants that will be missing. In round 3, we've got the Swannies and the Pies with the bye. And in round 4, we've got... Is Essendon still have the bye?
No. No.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Them and Gold Coast both have the bye, yes.
Sorry, they do, obviously. So we've got round 4 with Essendon and Hawthorn. So best 18 strategy, Spillsy. We have the luxury of actually getting some of these dud rookies off field. Now, I know that we were chatting pre-podcast, mate, and a strategy that you're even looking to do was to change up a little bit of your structure and actually bring in an extra defensive rookie, which I think most people would think that is absolutely crazy talk. What are you talking about here, man? Why are we bringing extra defensive rookies when the best score we're looking at is a 50-odd type thing? But with best 18, we do manage to drop off some of these scores. So a particular strategy like you're looking at, Spills, could actually work out for the next 3 weeks by bringing.
That's all I need it for, DR. I'm happy to field Reid and Pryor for 3 weeks, knowing that one of them could be cancelled out, and it's from the midfield forward that looks, particularly the forward line. I hate to sound biased, but at the moment with this aggressive move of Perryman, the forward line stacks up. It can't get better in theory. It's looking really good. But defense, a little bit vulnerable at D5 and 6, but particularly 3 weeks in a row, I'm pretty confident that you can do that. I think it can work. But
so you're prepared to do that, and then that's going to be your first upgrade that you're going to look to make, hopefully a nice early aggressive upgrade if possible.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but after round on Mills but he could be someone that we look to at that price when he comes in.
Mills,
so
Coleman.
we might not have enough rookie cash gen to get up to a proper defensive primo. But if there's always going to be someone around the mark that's even a mid-pricer, like Mills at that time. There'll be others as well, I'm sure. But I'm just going to cross that bridge when we get to it. But I'm sure there's going to be options. And, I'm definitely going to jump at it when there are. But I'm happy to capitalize, 2 rookies in the defense, knowing that, the best 18 strategy, it should take care of itself in theory. So
it's risky but rewarding at the same time. I can see where you're going.
absolutely, yeah.
Janath, when it comes to best 18 strategy, is there anything you're looking for in particular? Do you think that this favors the people that have gone more your guns and rookies, those people that have gone more your mid-price madness? What sort of teams do you think are going to fare the best during the next 3-week buy period?
I think it can be a bit mix of both, because when you've got sort of guns and rookies, you have the luxury of having a couple of captaincy options that can really be the spike scores that elevate that upper end of the best 18. Whereas what might happen is you might have 10 premiums and 6 rookies and 8 rookies in your best 18 compared to 6 premiums, 8 mid prices, and 4 rookies in your best 18 if you go in that gun mid-price madness. I know those numbers aren't exactly correct, because even the guns and rookies coaches would have like a Bailey Smith, would have a Caleb Daniel, Jack McRae sort of thing. But I think that they can both balance each other out. It's still a lot to say what's going to be the best approach. I think the best approach, though, is ideally not having any players on those buy rounds. And that's another reason why I think trading out of Harry Perriman this week and going ahead of the curve possibly even allows for bringing in a Finn Callahan next week, which is a play that we haven't talked about this week, but maybe a popular trade in next week for those that didn't start him. So, look, it's just a lot to consider. And one of the things that I may also be thinking about is, if I bring in a Xavier Lindsay this week, I would probably have to trade out Elijah Sardis if I do want to bring in Finn Callahan next week, just given the fact that you can only have so many midfield-only eligible players in the side. So a lot to work out in terms of that from a structural standpoint as well, outside of the best 18 sort of thing.
Excellent, mate. Very, very good. So just keep in mind that for those people that didn't start a loop, like myself, and I think like all of us, this is actually perfect. So if you have a Connor Stone, for example, a James Leake, they can be used as loopholes this week where you can take advantage of the vice captaincy score. A Riley Bice, a Ben Patton, perfect for players at Sydney. And then at Essendon, we've got our Kakos, our Reeds, our Pryors, our Sardis, if you want to take your pick there. So, yeah, make sure that during the next 3 weeks, I'm assuming most teams will have at least one loop. Take advantage of it. And you can also take advantage of some of the rookie roulette as well. So I've got Finn Callahan, for example, a Giants player in my midfield. Maybe I could help to use Finn Callahan to get the best rookie score. But keep in mind, it is always dangerous, because if you do want to take that VC score, you're obviously going to have to take that emergency score when you are looping. So just something to keep in mind.
You target 60. Well. 60 is where I sort of look. If I can get a 60 off a rookie, I don't go point chasing. I'm locking that in. But anything under...
There, Spillsy, I think there's a key part to this as well. Let's say Trainer 50 this week, right? Trainer scored 50 and your VC's on TDK. So to take the 148, you need to take the 50, which is basically, do you believe that if your rookie scored 60, then a 138 captaincy score is what is sort of offsets that? So what you need to consider there is taking a 148 with the 50 is probably better than sort of just risking it in that way, because it's a package.
I've got a strap for that.
Yeah,
I've actually got an answer for that, Janath. I think chuck the emergency on. I'll use Kako as an example, because he's so highly owned and he's probably the best rookie out of the lot that could pop. So I think he's pretty safe. Like, one goal he kicked on the weekend, still got 60. So I reckon you're pretty safe there. I reckon he would be the one for me. Someone like that you're pretty comfortable with. And yeah, if that's the case, say 55 from a rookie, but TDK's gone 140 plus again, so there you just take it. But there's other options as well, so it's not the be all end all.
Here we go. Now, Janath, are you going to take over this week with the mailbag, mate? Now,
yes.
I've hosted. Are you keen to actually jump on, mate, here?
Yes, can do that, mate. So we're going to turbo through the mailbag this week. So I'll toss you boys some of the questions this week. So 29 comments to get through. I'm sure we can do it in quick time if we just speed run it. So a lot of these questions may have already been answered though. So Andrew Vracek legend of the channel. The dilemma with Antipod and Smith. Do I get rid of JHF for Smith? I'm just going to not read anymore. No. Pretty easy, right?
No. Definitely keep Horn Francis, Andy. Absolutely,
keep
mate.
Horn. You want Horn, Francis, Rankin, and Smith in the same side.
100%.
Basically. Causa. The ladies' man.
The ladies' man.
First time for 2025. Welcome, mate. What rookies do I need to get in this week? Is there any glaring holes in my team if I need them? Definitely next week. Have 18K in the bank. Having a quick look, I think the big ones missing there are Levi Ashcroft and Mitch Nevitt. I think both of them are must-have.
Oh, no, Nevitt's got a sub, mate. Sorry,
Oh,
sub.
sorry, didn't see that. Sorry, mate.
Lindsay.
Sartis,
yeah, Lindsay Ashcroft.
Simpler Sardis to Ashcroft?
Yep.
Or Power Pepper to Ashcroft, Hewitt into F5. I think either of them are fine moves this week, mate.
And also, Causa, you got the rookies there. You don't own Baz either, mate. Yep. So he'd be a pretty big priority for me as well, big fella.
Yeah. Awesome. Rookie coach.
Rookie coach, hey, man.
Boys. Fresh on the block, doing some really good YouTube content. So go check him out if you haven't already. Hey, boys, I'm a crazy for wanting to do this trade this week. I see everyone chasing Smith. Why is everyone naming Smith?
The Squadfather, mate. The Squadfather. Smith.
Billy Smith. Or downgrade into a midi in defense. So what is that? Bailey Dale, Xavier Lindsay, and Jack Henderson for Perriman, O'Sullivan, and Power Pepper. Ooh, I
actually low-key like the Dale pick. I'm not going to lie.
For a boost, though?
Nah, I wouldn't boost it, but I just don't mind it as a pick. But don't think I'd do that, though.
Jeez, it's interesting. It's very, very aggressive, isn't it?
It's a very aggressive.
Very aggressive.
I don't rate the Henderson pick. I'm just not sold on it. Way too
I think he may be one of the first rookies out.
I don't trust
that's the trouble with that DPP, isn't it?
No DPP.
99K rookie that you can't go up from if he gets dropped. You can't trade down from. It's just one of those players where you can get stuck in purgatory very quickly, and he could become a season-long M11 if he gets dropped next week, for instance.
Scrap my trades, boys. Scrap my trades. Buddy Henderson. All right.
You're going to bring in Henderson?
I'm desperate, mate. For Henderson too at this stage. We'll get to my trades later.
So mean, Janath. Janath's reaction when I told him I was gonna pick what's his face from Essendon that I thought was gonna get a gig, and he laughed in my face.
Who?
What was his name? The WA guy. He's like 99K.
Tom Edwards.
Yeah, I was like,
because you had him. You had two 99K players on the bench, mate, in your team pick. I'm just trying to help you out, man.
You look salty for a bit there, but yeah, wishful thinking.
Trade. Look, Edwards might play this week because Kyle Langford is injured. That's something we didn't touch on in the injury. So that's a 99K rookie that we might be getting for a good stint going forward. Trade or no trade? Hey, Matty. Perriman and Sardis. Very ordinary day. Was not great either. Could bring in Lindsay or Levi. Don't touch Will Day. I think he is totally fine. I'm trying to figure out Perriman and Sardis. Perriman, I imagine, to Bailey Smith, and then Sardis to Lindsay or Ashcroft. We're all consensus saying Ashcroft ahead of Lindsay from Sardis.
Yep.
Awesome, I think. And then Perriman to Smith, we're both happy with. We're all happy with.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome, boys. Short to Baz this week. It leaves 3 rookies on field in defense or wait a week. He's my worst mid-price, and no, I would not.
No, there's no way more. I wouldn't go 3 in defense, mate.
That means
that's
you've got
an absolute
5
nightmare,
defender
brother.
rookies.
Yeah.
Truth bad enough as it is. I'm running the risk.
Yeah. No way, man. Get Baz in, but find another way. You can't. You'll just bomb your defense, mate. You're going to break your defense apart. So
I think Short can bounce back too. I think he's okay.
I'm hoping if you want to trade him, just not when you got 3 rookies on field in defense. I think it's asking for trouble. I think more
because the thing is, you got to look back on in 3 weeks' time. We're going to go back to best 22, and you would not have upgraded. You'd be lucky to have upgraded one of those 3 positions, let alone 3 of them.
Yeah, one. Yeah. Agreed.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. Crazy Frogs, Jules. Hey, gents. Looking forward to the potty. 10 to 3 trades with 3 cats to bring in versus doing nothing. SDK, viable option is D5. I'm not the biggest fan of SDK.
We've
but
talked
I think
a lot
he
about
and
him, haven't we?
Spills, yeah.
I want a
I
week.
think
One more
one of
week
the-
on SDK for me. That's all I'll
I
say.
reckon you got to go this week. If you do, that's where I'm against.
Oh,
I reckon, Jules, if
you're
you
locked
can,
down.
I say go this week. If you can, I say go this week.
What if he's sent half back? I just don't trust.
And
And
that
you went
leads
with
us into
Dunks
the
too.
next question. Yeah,
Nice.
that's his pod there. Next question there from Dan.
Legends
Another
keep
legend.
coming.
What do we honestly expect SDK to average over the next month? Look, I think his range is so variable, and it all depends on where he's playing. Like if he's playing ruck, the floor is 85. Even again, tough matchups, he'll get around the ground. He's like his brother Tom. It's not all about the hitouts; it's about getting around the ground. But if he's playing as a defender, he could give us 60s. So I think what I would say with those tough matchups, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, I think he 80 is where I see his sort of 80 to 85 is where I see his ceiling.
Yeah, it's about right.
Oh.
I just hate the idea of picking a player who's dependent on role.
Yeah.
Any injury.
Surely you
down
can't go
will
back
be
to
the start.
Stanley, can they? Blitzarves and Conning can do the job. You got Neil, who can ruck as well. Oh, I don't
Sure,
know.
you reckon Stanley's a big chance to come in and out throughout the season? Like
He
you
is.
touched on the Geelong preview, you said like Stanley's
Yeah.
just a perfect like relief ruckman.
And,
So I wouldn't rule it out.
The other sort of lurking news here is Toby Conway joined in the captain's run last week as he increased
He
his
ain't
training
far off
load. So
either.
that's
He's
the
the other
other
one.
variable to add
Of
in here.
course he did. Oh,
TR's livid, Janath.
oh. Chris Scott, man. I'll tell you. All right.
That's the major variable is where does he play him?
You got Brad with Elijah Sardis. Come on, Scott.
The Scots.
All right. Jaden Exel. Bit of help he needs.
All right. Oh, here we go. DeConning and said no, not Horn Francis. No. Don't
like
do
it.
that.
No, can't be doing that.
Tresize, Perriman, Sardis, O'Sullivan, Smith, Tresize, Lindsay. Tresize is a player that he looked to be racking it up against us, but I didn't really see him in a Supercoach role. What's the other one here? DeConning, Caldwell, Smith, Chalky, Perriman, Sardis. Don't do that.
Don't trade out Jockey.
Please don't do
No.
that, man.
I like if he's going with any of them, I like
If he's
number
going
2.
with something. And this is what he said his side. So very mid-price heavy in the midfield. Horn, Francis, and Rankin. This team's actually really nice. I really like this team. Aiden Johnson, I think that's the issue there. Hall and Johnson at F5 and F6.
Well, you could have
It's
Davidson
something
and
that-
Sam
Davidson?
Pepper.
Yeah, true, valid. That's a very good
One
point.
Garcia in there too.
Who's got? Has any of you boys
got-
got Maxi Hall? Who's got Maxi?
No, we
all
don't
got
have
him?
Hall.
No, I haven't got Maxi. No.
I got him. So you use him.
Oh, dang.
Maxi.
It's small wins, boys.
Small wins. That's a good win. That's a big win. That's 56 more points than my pal Pepper.
Oh
I
yeah.
only started him because he was named on field and on the bench. That's literally the only reason. I have no
Well played,
data.
Spillsy. Well played.
Mate. But
Good
no,
luck, Jaden.
I think if you would go with a trade, that's probably the second one there, mate. Hey boys,
agree.
Logan. Hey boys, good to be
Hey,
back.
Ludes.
I think this is what he wants to get ticked off. DeConning, Smith, Lindsay for Perriman, Garcia, Flynn. Honestly, I like Flinny, even though he had about a 70% ruck split on the weekend. For West Coast, I don't think that they will persist with him all season, but we just need to get a good stretch with him. Hear this out. Matt Flynn, 80 ruck contests, 13 hitouts.
Crump.
Yeah, that's a bar.
It was against
That's
Wits, though, wasn't it? It was against
We've
Wits.
had like
Yeah,
60 or something like that.
He
wasn't
had
it?
like 60 hitouts.
That's
I
off his
just love-
head. He's like
I just love to
35.
the right here. Aiden's jumped in here. Good on you. Aiden's all good, Logan. Sorry to hear weak started poorly. Yes, I tick these off. Aiden's joined in with the good on you, Aiden. Thank you for that,
I
mate.
think
Tick it off.
It may be a bit of points chasing. Perriman to Smith, tick. Garcia to Lindsay, tick. And I can
It's just
see
the
the logic
Flynn.
behind
I don't
Flynn
like it.
DeConning.
Do you know why I've got
What?
a smile on my face?
Yes.
Because this is an exact trade that I'm looking at. Player for player. Exact trade. Player for player. And it's all about I don't want Flynn out. I don't want Flynn out, but he's just that bloke at the price that I need to.
He's the price, yep.
He's only getting 13 hit outs and dropping at 87. That's not bad. Like,
look, I like your thinking, Logs, because I'm thinking the same thing, mate, at the moment. Don't know if I'm going to go through it. I'll let you know, brother.
If we go on to the next one, he's very happy with his side here. Mega White Ding. Good man. Oh, where is he? Oh, league ranking first. Oh, that's 23.48. Oh, he's killing it.
3.48 if you don't.
Jeez.
2K prize as well for that one there.
Wait,
didn't even take TDK's VC.
Is this the winner? Oh, there you go. Bang.
I'd love to know his rank.
No trades this week. Well, I wouldn't be trading either, mate. I'm slightly jealous. Mate. Very happy so far, but early days.
Why would you trade? Your team looks like that.
G'day, young lads. Oh, DR. That should make a day, mate. There we go. Love the pod.
Getting called a young lad. It should be DR and young lads. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you, brother.
No. Question for you. If one has started Guns and Rookies with TDK, Gorn, and Cherry, would it be worth discarding a Cherry in the outfit two good-looking mid-pricing like Baz and SDK? No. I feel like if you started that, you've got to carry through with it. It's not a 1 week thing. And it's not. Yeah. They all scored above 120.
Gee, they all did really well, didn't they?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's a structural move you make. I wouldn't change the structure now after being reactionary. I'd find another way to get Baz in. I don't think SDK is a must-have. That's where I differ.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I'd agree. I think Baz is a must-have, but I wouldn't be changing up that setup because that's looking really good. TDK and Gordon and Sherry.
Awesome.
On you, Jeff.
Awesome. Michael, we know the small forward position is hard. What's your thoughts on the viability of Corey Warner, Max Hall, Constanti, and Kako? Do you like Warner's role enough to pick him on the bubble or watch the other three for next week? One thing I'll say on Corey Warner is that his job security looks really good in the Dean Cox regime. Sam Wicks isn't there to affect him. He looks to be one of the first key small forwards actually picked in that Swans lineup along with Tom Papley, ahead of Tom Hanley, that sort of thing. Maxi Hall was sort of the lead out target for the Saints. How that changed with Machito Owens coming back in and Max King is a bit hard to tell. I guess Rossco would be a better sort of source of information for that. Constanti didn't see too much of him on the weekend, more for pressure forward. And then Kako is a real points per possession. I love how he sort of roves contests. And I think he can be a good player going forward. Very, very highly owned as well. If I was to pick, I would go probably Warner because he's going to get a cash prize this week. Oh, it's tough. Kako probably next, then Hall, then Constanti. I'd just have Warner ahead of Kako.
I'd have that the same, but I'd probably just swap Kako and Warner for myself, mate.
Yeah, maybe.
I know, and you think good job security under Cox's regime. I think
both of them are good job.
Kako's not going anywhere, boys.
Kako's so
that's what I mean. Job security-wise, Kako's probably the best rookie, job security-wise.
Yeah.
And scoring, too. He gets involved. Like, as I said before, one goal for 60.
It's a volatile role. It's a volatile role.
He can disappear out of games, though. That's the thing. And that's just the small forwards anyway.
That's why he put him on the bench. And then, emergency him early. That's what I'm going to do.
They're both the same price as well, I think. What is it? Kako's 149 and Warner's 149 as well. The same price,
Wouldn't it? Yeah. Look, it's a tough one. Constantine, I'd have towards the bottom. I think we can all agree on that one.
I think Constantine,
but good luck, Mike, with the decision, buddy.
But look, even Constantine, 10 touches, 6 tackles for 74, not bad. It's not...
Hang on, did he get a 74, Constantine?
He did, yes.
Crikey,
and
okay.
Robert Hansen Jr. as well, 71 or 15 touches. Not that these North rookies are not the worst. The one we have is the malfunctioned one in Finn O'Sullivan.
This is the world I live in, where I can't even say his name, and Hansen Jr. is scoring 30 points more than Lockie Neal.
Yeah, it's actually Jacob Constanti.
The Lockie Neal.
Garcia plus Davidson plus Power Pepper. These guys are almost beaten as well.
Let's move on. Perriman to Baz, a decent move. Have pattern forwards can do in one trade. That is exact. This is the exact scenario I'm in.
I wish.
Big tick, mate. Good work. Good work, AJ. Hey, boys, someone you had in your team most of preseason that you didn't go in with in week 1 and regret. Bailey Smith, I think, will be the unanimous.
Let's go left field. Like, obviously, Baz. I'm going Rosie. Like, he was in there a lot of it. Yeah. Dropped him.
All right. Yeah. If you want to go different, I'll say Jordan Clark. I really like the look of Jordan Clark, particularly early on. So,
you didn't grab him, do you?
Nah, mate. Nah, I needed money, so I went down the short. So, spewing. I had him all, as you know, all preseason had him. So, but Baz is a big one. Before my last term, pre-cyclone, I had Baz in. So, yeah, definitely Baz for me.
I will go with Dane Zorko. Love him as a player, but it was just justifying paying 600 odd K for his age. But
fair enough,
he's a gun, and the run coming up is a bit disgusting. So that's the sort of thing. Hey lads, welcome back. Welcome.
Hey,
I need to bring in Smith, but don't have the funds. They are going to have to come from one of Perriman, Short, or Flynn. Which is the choice to go? If you're willing to part ways with Flynn, I don't mind getting Flynn up to Bailey Smith. Then Perriman, then Short. I think Short is the one I'd be most hesitant to get rid of in this scenario.
Again, I'm just one different from you, mate. I'm probably going Perriman, Flynn.
I'm going Perriman. I like Flynn. I really want.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it either way. I can see why you would get rid of Flynn, because you want to give Perriman another shot and you still believe in his upside long term more than a Flynn. I think that's where it sort of comes down to personal preference. But I know a lot of coaches haven't put Flynn up as an option to trade out to get to Smith as well.
Yeah.
Unsure if it's too late. Kara, hello. No, not too late at all. Unsure where to go with this team after a hard run with some players. I think we can all relate on that one. I'm thinking Garcia to Smith and Foz down to maybe Hall, then back in the rest to make a decent score. Enjoy the night. I think that sounds perfect, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Garcia and what was the other one? Foz down to Hall.
Get rid of Hugo, mate. Get rid of Hugo.
That's it. Looks a good team. Honestly, I think a lot of these scores look quite poor. I promise the last time I'll mention Lockie Neal on this podcast. But a lot of these scores look quite poor because Neal is either being captain. I know I saw a really nice team the other day, Lockie Neal captain. And you're just not going to score well in round 1 when you got Lockie Neal captain. So I wouldn't worry too much. This is a really nice team. You're going to bounce back really quickly, mate. So not to worry. But yes, tick on those 2 trades there.
Yep, beautiful.
Hey, lads, one thing I'm stuck on. Worth going early impairment to SDK. Tick or no tick?
Talked about that a lot, haven't we? It's I'm saying I think it's okay. I'm saying I think it's okay, Luca.
Yep. Spillsy?
Oh, I don't know. It's funny. It's that debate. The matchup's good, but I want to see another week of that role.
I'd say give it another week as well.
So much talk about Perriman, SDK, and Baz, isn't there? They're the 3 big sort of names this week. Even if you look to Aaron's question here, Perriman to Baz by swinging Patton back. Yes, I like that. I'll give another week to
lock it in, yeah.
I think one thing that we're forgetting here is that Perriman will probably increase in price this week. He's got a break even of 77. So if you do hold Perriman another week to get through,
he just hits it.
Trade.
I think he safely hits it.
I don't know about safely. Safely.
I think you can score 77, but I don't think much more.
He has scored 93 and 62, I think, in his 2 games. Yeah.
Well, if he scores what he does last week, he's losing money, isn't he?
He had 27 touches in the first week, 3 tackles, 13 touches and 4 tackles. That's a big difference there. Next one, I think we've also touched on. Perriman to Bailey Smith by swinging Patton back. Tick or give it another week. I would go this week, honestly. Bailey Smith against St Kilda. Really good matchup. Also don't have Levi, Max Hall, Corey Warner, Xavier Lindsay. So this is a scenario where if you believe that these 4 players you want in your side, you're going to have to go earlier on at least one of them.
I don't think they're must.
Yeah.
I'll be going Lindsay.
Levi, if we had to rank those boys, Levi 1, Lindsay 2, probably.
Yep.
How do you rank the other 2? Was it you boys had Warner first, then Hall, right?
Yes.
Or Hall first?
Personally, I've got Warner.
I might sound ignorant because I don't know enough on Warner, but I'm having Hall. ahead of him just because I really
fair
like
enough.
that score.
You've got Wally, yeah.
Exactly right, mate.
That's good. Back
And
your
he's
boy
got a boost anyway.
Yeah.
Chris Clement, hello, mate. I think everyone
Chrissy.
needs to come down and give all these guys one more week. This
So
time
funny.
last year, everyone was trading out Nick Martin, Hayden Young, and we're kicking ourselves. All this rage trade in Perriman, Sanders, Sartis. I know that Sartis got the Tasitsky nickname as well, floating around. Cool your Jets. Great lesson there, Chris. I think.
I want to elaborate on
reflecting
that
previous
quickly,
years-
Janath.
Yeah,
Real
go on, mate.
quickly. So Martin Young, they're like pushing 550. So arguably Primos. Perryman is stepping stone price. So I don't think, is it the same? I don't know.
I just think the only context to it is if you're trading these guys to get Baz, I think it's okay. Just trade.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
I'm not up for it. But if you're getting Baz, I don't want any of these guys above Baz, so I think it's okay. That's all I'd say to that. But agree with the general advice there to try to cool your Jets a little bit.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. D, I'm just going to throw this one to you, mate. I'm going to assume Will got to do in round 2 to remain in everyone's sides?
Will in round 2. He's got to go 115.
115.
Yeah,
CBAs?
you really need to set the
CBAs?
tone here.
Well, CBAs, it has to be over 50%.
He had
I
50
think
on the
he will.
weekend.
It's got to be over that. It's got to be over 50%, I think. And I thought he'd get a little bit more than what he did. But, you know, with his
McCluggage
brother
is
coming
killing
into
him,
the
DR.
side,
He's the
it
fourth
seems.
banana. It's so clear that McCluggage is ahead of him. Yeah.
I genuinely thought that he could go ahead of Klug, and Klug could play a bit more half-forward wing potentially, because he's an all-Australian wingman, Hugh McCluggage. But, you know, maybe Will, although he is that good, he's just got to wait his time. You know, Klug isn't a mug. You know, he's an absolute star. So, I'll say 115 to keep him, or else see you later, Will.
Liam, hey mate.
Hey,
pretty happy with my side. Didn't want to make any correctional trades. Should I make a move to get Levi Ashcroft in this week or play it safe and picking up next week pre-price rise? DR, if he's happy with his side, he could almost wait a week. But playing West Coast, we saw just how poor they were at home. It could probably be one of those 100 type scores where all the lines sort of towel up.
It really could be. It could be. And I think if you know that you want him in, I'd be happy to get him in this week. And that way you know that you can at least use your 3 next week. If you don't get him in and you know that you're going to get him in either this week or the next, there's already one of your trades gone from next week. You can only use 2. We don't know what circumstance is going to happen. Injuries, players just playing out of their skin, underperforming. So I would get him in this week, actually, mate. That'd be my advice anyway.
Awesome. Will, Fantasy Sports, best rookie defender to bring in this week. Already a Reed, Leak, Traynor, so you're probably looking at a Patton, a Riley Bice.
This is for me. This is my
one game as a sub.
This is my question.
Who are you looking at?
I'm looking at Bice. I didn't hate him. He's fine. He's just going to sit on the bench, and he's cheap. 113k. Already got the first prize rise in his system. He's my.
Why
our early corrections. I just can't believe our early rookie corrections, right, in 2025 are going to a bloke that's played half a game as a sub.
Oh, no, it's ridiculous.
One game.
There's nothing.
He's not even rising. He's not rising in price this week.
There's nothing else. There's literally.
Oh no, that's the key, Spills.
Bo Allen.
I
haven't seen anything else.
Oh,
is
Bo
he
Allen.
an option? Is he an option?
Minus 17 or whatever he got. Come on down, Bo. You know,
minus
12,
and he's lost 5
touches
kilos.
or something.
That's who we're looking at guys played half a game as a sub and a guy that played a pracky game and got a minus score. Like what's going on, Spills? And you're looking to go to get an extra rookie in there, Spills. Good luck, mate.
It's got to be someone.
Three deep in defense. Oh, mate.
Honestly, I'm going to need it.
What about, I mean, Jackson Pryor's the only other one that I could even offer up to you. But honestly, at that point, you're almost better off. Yeah. That's the problem, for sure.
Man.
Who do we need to trade, Foz or Sardis? We think it's Sardis. Other people may think it's Foz. I think there's a comment here saying Foz. As a Northman, we didn't get him to be an accumulator, as his draft profile suggests. But I think the job security at this stage of the season is more important than anything. I can't really see O'Sullivan getting subbed out if it's not for injury, whereas Sardis is both a red and a green vest candidate.
Yeah.
Hey boys, any chance you think Bailey Smith could regress in the next 2 weeks, potentially get a tag from Windhager? I'm trying to justify keeping Sanders for another week. Thank you for your help.
I love it, Clayton.
Relatable,
I do
isn't
the
it?
same. You just think,
Yeah.
is there a chance? Look, I
He
don't
could, but do you really want to?
Windhager cannot run
against
with
that?
Bailey Smith.
There's
He
is there a
doesn't have the
chance?
tank to. Yeah.
There's always a chance.
Yes,
There's never a
he went
guarantee
with
in this
Dawson.
game. But
Went
yeah,
with
look,
Dawson on the weekend. Yeah.
I think, like Clayton, I think what you're doing, mate, and I'm doing the same thing at the moment, is you're desperate. You're desperate just to wait. I think you got to get him, mate. I think you got to get him. And see you later, Rolly Sanders. We discussed Sanders in the last pod. It was about effort. He didn't take his opportunity, and that's why I think three of us were off him, mate. So not good enough from Rolly Sanders for me.
Yeah, for sure, mate. All right, we've only got a couple more very quickly. Core Blimey. I've been considering not trading at all for the first few rounds, so I get my maximum quota for all the remaining rounds. Do you endorse this strategy? I'm not sure what you mean by maximum quota for all the remaining round because it's still a limited format
if he
game.
doesn't trade for the first whatever he can use, he knows he can use 2 for every week for the rest of the season. But it's very circumstantial, mate. I think the only way you're going to be in that position is if you're starting in the top 10 in Supercoach. I think that you've got to make early trades because they're the most valuable trades before the prices either go up or down, before there's any movement. So I would say absolutely don't do that. If you need to make a trade, make it, would be my advice.
Awesome. Seuss, if you had to get rid of one, Neil or Sarong, I think had is the poor word here. I'd get rid of neither. They're both going to be fine. I wouldn't. If you've got both of them, you probably don't have the best round score, but I wouldn't worry too much. They're both gonna come good. They'll both be top 8 mids. I can't see.
I'm saying none too.
But
Strong's got Jordan this week, but I'm still saying none.
Yeah.
Probably
none flip the coin, but yeah.
If I had to pick,
I wouldn't because you're gonna want them at some point in the season.
Yeah,
if you started them, they're probably players that you want to have at the end of the season. So
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And the final question here, we've already answered this, but can't decide between trading out Sardis or Finn O'Sullivan. Keen to hear your thoughts. I think we've all agreed that it is Elijah Sardis.
And just all I'll say on that, we could be so wrong on that as well. Like it's so difficult, isn't it? You really don't know.
It's a judgment call.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Boys.
All right, mate. Wrap us up with the trades. Bang.
Done. All right. Let's finish off with
That's a record time mailbag reckon. Question per minute.
That's good timing.
We
covered everything, though. We did a great job.
First one that Janath takes over from me. So I don't think that's any sort of coincidence there at all. All right. I'll just get this back on the stage and have a look at our trade. I'm going back on all this. Believe me, I'm going back on it. I'm going to start off here. So the trades I was looking at is out Perryman, out Garcia, out Sardis. In would come the 2 Geelong boys, into Conning and Smith, and in Jack Henderson. The only reason I've got Henderson there is by the time I bought into Conning and Smith, I had 110K, and I had to select someone, which was Jack Henderson. But I'm now thinking differently about this and potentially looking to get maybe Matty Flynn out for Xavier Lindsay and add it to the mix there. So, yeah, this is far, far from locked in, but I've got a few options up my sleeve. But one thing I can guarantee you is that you will not see Hugo Garcia in my side this week. He's the biggest trade out for me. And I'll guarantee you that you will see Bailey Smith in my side this week. So I'll make it happen. I'll find a way to get Garcia to Smith. It's just the other pieces around that to build up the cash to actually get to that point. So I'll quickly go to Rossco, I suppose. So he's bringing in Levi Ashcroft and Xavier Lindsay. So Roscoe's really focusing on the rookies here, and out Sam Powell-Pepper and out Elijah Sardis. So that seems like a really sensible move, and just moving on to rookies that you're not keen on and 2 blokes that you think are close to must-haves. Spillsy, fill us in with what you're doing. You are a brave man. I'd tell you you're a brave man. Going extra rookie in defence. Brave or silly, I don't know. I hope it works out for you, mate, but explain the method behind the madness here, Spillsy.
Yeah, we did. We already did a little bit when we were touching on like best 18. So it's a 3-week sort of strategy here, and I think I can come out of it fine. I do have the 2 rookies I'm running on field are Reed and Pryor, who I think on the weekend we saw the floor, but we're yet to see. I liked both of them against Geelong, so I think they can both bounce back. It's more who I'm bringing in, and I don't like it, but there's no one else. But for this to be done, there's no other way to get Smith. He's the one I just need to get him, but it's got to be. This is where I'd love to start a pattern. I know he wasn't a great rookie, but you could just swing him back and it all is well off one trade. But yeah, I've got to do it. I hate it, but
Wish I'd have done that.
It's got to be done. Like how else do I get Bailey Smith in? I could hold another week, but I can't antipod this. I can see it looks like Janath might be. Maybe he can talk some sense into me, but I can't go another week of this. It's got to, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Whether it's Bice or somebody else they're going to be on the bench anyway, just rotting away there, slowly making cash through sub games, whatever. I'm not looking at fielding them anytime soon, but yeah, I'll tell you what, my forward line is crazy. It is as good as it gets. It's got loopholes everywhere. It's looking great. Hey,
I said you're just in love with that forward line, aren't you, mate?
I am now. And if it wasn't for bias, then I wouldn't be in love with it. So I'm stuck in the middle. So I think my only weak link is the two rookies in defence. But with this best 18 stuff coming up for 3 weeks in a row,
hide for 3 weeks.
I think we can get through it. I'm happy with it. I don't like Bice as a pick, but who else? Who else is there? There's no one. There's nothing. They're all terrible.
Got to go for a move sometimes. When you're going for a move, mate, if it doesn't work out, you'll be best 18. So
yeah. Did Bice? I didn't watch this game. Unfortunately, I was out. But did Bice? Did I hear one of you say that Bice was subbed, or he was the sub?
He was the sub.
Was the sub? Then come on.
52.
And really impressed for me.
52 for sub.
31% time on ground.
So that's pretty good for a 52 when you got Harvey Langford, who he come on as a sub and it was wet, but it was like 34 or something.
We know Bice's scoring potential. I think that's what, because
he isn't sub. I think he's fine.
He's mature age, He could play ahead of Patton this week, which would be a lot of irony.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah.
If he does skills, I'm tempted as well doing it you're doing. But
I don't love it. I hate the trade, but it's got to be done. I mean, there's no way of having Perryman over Bailey Smith. I can't.
All right, Janath, explain what you're doing, mate. Pretty simple by the looks of it, just the one.
Just the one, but this was pre-podcast. I think a lot of convincers happened. I've been conned into trading.
That's strong, but okay.
Exactly.
Not con. I've
conned myself Campbell.
I've conned myself into trading out Harry Perriman for Bailey Smith, I reckon. The only thing, and the reason why I haven't put that here is team dependent. Like what teams come out with. If Ben Patton is dropped this week, I probably won't move Patton on this week. I'll use him to facilitate the Perriman to Smith trade. But then next week, what I'll likely do is if Patton isn't named, Bice will probably get a full game. And in that case, I'd trade out Patton for Bice and then get in Lindsay, if I want a Kako, that sort of thing. So not Lindsay, sorry. Lindsay and Smith this week. And then next week, I'm maybe looking at the Bice, Kako, and possibly a Callahan if I can sort of fund that move because I think he's going to be a really good pick there. So I think this week he may not.
One thing I've got
long term, definitely Callahan.
Yeah, I love Callahan. He's been great.
And with you, Spills, I'd be going down to 2 defenders in defense as well, like 2 rookie defenders in defense. So you're not alone in that regard.
It's Reed and Pryor though, like they're not that bad. Reed and Pryor are fine.
There's no other choice because if you get rid of Perriman, unless you bring an SDK in, there's no you're screwed. Like
and look at the this is reverse your trades, but if I go through this, 133k in the bank sets me up for upgrade season.
Good money. Yeah,
Janath, if you're in my position. So if you're in my position, would you go over what I've done here? Would you go Perryman literally down to Bice and then Garcia up to Baz Smith or Power Pepper up to Baz Smith? Would you do that over what I've done here and boost?
I would.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that. I've started. So you're telling me I've started with the 5 defenders, right?
Yeah.
The rookie defenders are absolute tripe, and I'm
Yeah.
now bringing an extra one in. What's
But-
going on in
Look,
2020?
if buys, the thing is, DR, the problem with all this is that
Spills
Perham is scoring at the rate of a rookie defender.
That's what I said before. I'm like,
no
Perriman's
difference.
breaking even with these rookies. I mean,
You're paying
he's 12
300k
points
more for the
above.
same output.
It's 12 points above.
And Riley
Pryor.
Bice is the bloke we're going here, Spills. We're serious on this.
He's the super sub.
no
52
no
off
other option.
33%. Throw away the key.
He's a superstar.
Spills is throwing away the key on Riley Bice. I've heard it all. I reckon it's time to end this podcast. This is like, what levels are we getting to here?
Throw away the key. I'm not throwing away the key on Riley Bice. That key is well and truly staying attached to my carabiner.
But
I'll throw away the key, but I've got a spare key somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Now you're playing funny buggers, are you, Spills? All right, mate. Good on you. Well, boys, that was a lot of fun. It was a tough weekend for me when it came to Supercoach personally, but I think that, you know, once we get back into the season, now that I've sat down with you two legends and done our second poddy of the year, I am feeling a lot better, a lot more positive about the season that's upcoming, and really, really enjoyed it, guys. So, Spillsy, Janath, any final words before we end the poddy for this week?
I guess we sort of always say this, and it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So,
yeah.
Like right now, we both have personal experience as well. Coming from 70k, 90k. Well, it's happened. So it's like, what will happen right now? And you'll see there's going to be a period of equilibrium where coaches that have played for a lot of periods may not see the rank rise they expect to see over the next coming weeks. But as those high sort of ranks make beer, chase those points, that sort of thing, in some instances, you'll see that you'll gradually work your way up. And then when the proper buy rounds come around, that's when those real big rank changes can occur. And having some trades handy for that, even a boost, sometimes, possibly, may be quite handy as well. So I wouldn't make any reactionary trades. Rookies first. Prioritize getting the most important rookies in your team, and then consider looking at trading out some mid-prices for other mid-prices like a Peatling, a Peatling, Perriman to Smith, that sort of thing.
Love it, mate. Lovely final words. And Spillsy, send us off for the week, brother. What do you got for us, mate? A Shakespearean quote or something inspirational, mate, to get us going into the week?
You can't go wrong with that. No, I got no wise words, but I guess what I will say is it's all about how you finish, but you could start off with a wet sail, just like I have, and then the wheels could just come crashing and falling off. So be conservative and don't listen to too much outside noise as well. If you like a player,
Spillsy, setting the bar low, mate. You started like a wet sail. You ranked at 25k, man.
Mate, I'm training Riley Bice. You've got to prepare. Anyway, boys, I've got nothing.
Sorry, that was uncalled for.
I love it, Spillsy. Hey, we cannot talk, particularly me with the 70,000
you're right,
rank.
man.
Spillsy, I take my hat off to you, mate. And I also take my hat off to the blokes from Game Day Squad. Keep in mind, guys, that this is the most fantastic fantasy platform that you can get involved with. Code word PEANUT, PEANUT. When you sign up, put in that code, $20 worth of free cards. You cannot go wrong. And very, very much looking forward to our captain's video with Janath and Rossco. So they'll be giving us their best options, going through the list and setting you up for a nice captaincy score this week. So, brothers, thank you very much for joining me again. Already looking forward to next week. And everyone, good luck with your trades. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.
Not wrong.